Okay. Well, here we are. Let's introduce everybody. We have...
He's forgotten his name.
Is it my, an alias or, my
No,
real
your
name?
actual name. Your name's that we can reference.
It's Greg from
I
Finance.
don't like saying my name.
You can give yourself a code name if you want.
Can you pretend I'm a sponsor and you can give my name?
This week's episode is brought to you by Bernie.
It's not my name.
Oh. You can say Bernardo if you want, but...
I mean, that's why I didn't want to say it. I don't like saying it because I can't say it with, a weird... Anyway.
A weird English accent.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Well, that one's Bernie.
Yeah.
Then we've got...
I'm Dean.
We've got me, George, and we've got...
Hello, Ella.
Okay.
Wait. I'm Ella.
Okay.
Not hello, Ella.
So this is Hello Ella.
Hello. Well, that's about as professional as we're going to get to start off with, I think.
Yeah.
Very well. So we've got two main things to talk about today. We were going to continue talking about our experiences. Do we want to do that first or second?
I don't know. I guess, do you guys think it would make more sense to start with the personal experience stuff and then move into ideas?
Probably.
I guess as...
I'd have to think of something on the spot because I was trying to complete my main thing because it just kept sort of happening.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if you guys like, we can start with that first.
Okay.
But maybe we should let that influence our ideas of, objectively before adding in personal ones, just because that'll change how they happen. I mean, we'll never hear our ideas without being influenced by each other's feelings. So, but that can still happen after having done it.
I don't think it would. I don't think it would necessarily change objective ideas. I think it possibly might manifest in a different way, but that's not really a bad thing.
Yeah, but I mean, they can manifest in a different way later on.
So,
I mean,
are you saying start with the ideas and then do the...
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the other thing is now we're using the Google Sprint methodology, which is to spend the first 2 days ideating one of our themes. So the theme for this week is, which I will get up in the schedule, which is working on the idea of passing the baton, a connection between people or influencing indirectly the experiences of others. So this is the idea that people can affect each other by not directly contacting or connecting to each other, but in some other way by...
So asynchronous.
Yes, so
passing on.
something they leave behind, something that is there because of them, or something that has something to do with something that they've changed. Very, very basically. It's a difficult one to explain. But yeah, so yeah, we spent 2 days trying to come up with things, talking points that we think would be interesting. So the purpose of today is to talk about those, try and develop them into some more game ideas, and just see how far we can take them. And then we'll repeat that for the next 2 weeks after this with different themes. But yeah, so that's the idea section of the Wednesday podcasts. Where shall we start?
I mean, I don't mind going, but it's not done.
If you'd like to go, then go ahead. If you prefer for me to start, then that's also fine.
I don't like to or like to, so I don't mind. Anyway.
But of course.
Well, my idea obviously centered around the exact same thing of passing on a sort of legacy type thing and share and giving over your thoughts to another person. That was the objective anyway. But but I thought of it in terms of narrative. I thought, first of all, to find the motive for giving someone something, anything, and attempting to form any like meaning for leaving them something as well. I thought the player needs to understand why it's important to find a connection and why it was important to think of the future and not just what is important in the present. So I more thought of it in terms of narrative, where I would give context in I sort of went for a radicalized view so as to find problems within not doing these things so that it was clearer what was the matter more in a straightforward way, but so that people would question it just because it was just so unusual. It's on the nose, but it's like a fun concept. Which anyway, that basically made me think of a bunch of, I guess, thought experiments where I would pretend I was this person who had the tendencies to do the opposite of the objective we were given, which is to leave a legacy and create connections, and so. So as I said, my thing isn't fully developed, but I can. So I mostly fixated on the idea that Ella gave during her presentation of it was that we could never really come to not be alone, but through that it would mean that she said that we would always be alone, and because of that, that would probably also mean we could never really understand each other apart from find the connection when we realize that we will never not be in any way connected to anything.
Wasn't it like the togetherness of being like everyone is alone and everyone is together?
Yeah,
in
it
the
was
fact
that.
that
I mean, I don't have the. I don't know if Ella gave us the presentation, like the quote. I think it was just in her presentation on the PowerPoint. But yeah, it was that.
Yeah.
So I was just questioning if we are unable to find the correct meaning to give to one another because it's only an interpretation of the meaning we tried to explain, then we could never really grasp the meaning of what something really was when it was said to us. It was just us influencing specific pieces of information so that we could understand it ourselves, and we never really took advantage of like the original source it came from. The material is it became lost, like, first of all, the moment it became translated into a format of words, because that's constrained to having to organize them so that they can be shared with another person. And, well, that would mean that attempting to say a thought at all would be to have already misinterpreted it or translated it wrong anyway, because it can only exist in the abstract sense it happened in your mind. And it's not really a thing that can be translated. It's just something that, if possible, should just be given over as it is. But yeah, that's not possible. So it's not possible to understand each other ever. Let me just read this for a second, because I saw it. So yeah, that would mean even if we were to attempt at sharing. That would mean that the worth we believe something to hold is not possible to be understood. And so I was questioning, why would you leave anything behind when from the very beginning it's going to be left behind so many times, to the point where it to begin off by being passed on or down, it's already just a likeness. And over time, the more it's passed on, it becomes more vague, because each time it's just another person's interpretation of an interpretation, and that keeps going until it's completely inaccurate and disconnected from the person trying to say it at all, and the original person couldn't pass down what they had attempted to originally, which made me think there was no point in attempting to say or create or do anything, because this would suggest it's just your thoughts are the only thing that affects them is time, and their worth is, well, time in which you live holding them. And so I mean, that would mean that there would be no point in leaving anything. It's not going to be taken care of or said the same way. So, I don't know. The whatever personality was in what you had given, or the idea, or like a passion thing in it, it's just gone completely, and it can't affect the future in reality, not in the way you had intended it.
That's not necessarily true.
Well, for this thought process, it is the case when we could never understand each other. As I said, extremist view.
Okay.
I don't believe that what I'm saying is correct. I'm just going along with the
devil's
thought
advocate
process.
almost of what if.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, it's not a what if. This is the case. I don't think it's the case to the extent I'm saying it, only because people can mildly translate understand ideas. I just believe that in this person's case, to be so like fundamentally misunderstood from the beginning, because there's no way to understand, there is no point in trying anyway. Yeah, that's the problem. The character would come to understand what you just said and stuff.
So, do you want to finish the thought before I say about things, or do you want to?
I got a decent. I mean, if you want, you can feel free to interrupt me, because I'll be going on for a tiny bit.
If it's a tiny bit more.
No, it's not a tiny bit.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think this is more about the context of when it's said, or about I guess how specific it is to the person? Because like if it's a case of being misunderstood or it being lost in translation, like Chinese whispers, then I guess that's a different thing to it being contextual to the time in which the person who said it or felt it said or felt it.
Yeah, I wanted it to be a personal thing, because that it feels accurate to attempt to portray something similar to how people feel. I mean, not accurate. I meant something that feels personal, feels like it can be trusted, I think. So I thought honesty came above accuracy, or like inclusivity of the idea anyway.
Do you think it's a combination of the two, in that it's because it's so contextual and personal, it will only be misunderstood? Like, that's the thing of like it will be adapted by other people to fit their context. And
yeah,
okay, sure. Because I guess the first thing I thought of in terms of gamifying that would be a situation in which say the solution to like a certain situation in your context. If you were then to try to use that solution again, or to tell someone to use that solution again, but now the world has changed, the level has somehow changed or something. That's as a mechanic, that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, so rules wouldn't necessarily apply across the board.
Yeah, so you can't like give direct feedback, but then that's not overcoming the idea, that's enforcing the idea. So I guess you would show, like, that would just be to say this is how this person feels. But yeah, like, that's the first thing that came to my head, if you're wondering.
But yeah, feel free to interrupt me as I'm speaking, if anything comes to mind. You said that at 15, 16. We should probably write that down so we can just find. Well, you finished your thought at 15, 16.
Sure.
I
Okay,
don't
continue
have a thing.
talking. I can put it here.
Sure. Yeah, which led me to think that the character could have like a thing where they believe that kindness is a person who does not share their thoughts, and it's a person who does not listen either. Because it's basically,
Encapsulated.
yeah, it's basically just sharing lies, is what I'm trying to say. It's like a,
Or just subjectivity as a almost overwhelming
Yeah.
theme, which is that's the sense that I'm getting, that they're so wrapped up in their own bias that they
To go,
can no longer
nothing's
communicate
objective.
to any way at all.
yeah.
Yeah.
But obviously we fix that because it's spiral upwards. But yeah, it's like misinterpreting. Well, I say misinterpreting. What we believe anyway is misinterpreting when we see a smile. Or if we saw two people smiling at each other, this character would be thinking they are sharing towards one another, not with one another, and one is lying to the other. The other one is accepting a lie and throwing the lie back, and they think it's connection. And yeah.
So it's development of a personal complex.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a narrative situation that could be interesting to pursue.
So yeah, I was just thinking to have ever experienced, in this case, to have ever. I was thinking to experience something is to have more like ways of thinking, because they get to think about it in like a different like way. Which made me think, if you were, the character would be against connection, because if you were ever to have found yourself like found solace in like this apparent, well, according to the character, this fantasy where people can be together, that is to then be able to compare like what is actually real with what is subjectively real. And because togetherness is like,
Through combined understanding, that's what makes it, I guess, true or something.
yeah, it's like because it's happened and because people prefer it, it makes it the case that is their reality. But in this case, it's questioning their just what I mean. It's relative to them that is reality. But this character wants to keep it as what is actually objectively the case. And so they would see that as you don't want to get close to people because then that, like, your reality is not real anymore.
So basically, it's the quest for objectivity that ends in making everything completely subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's in a social environment.
It's this person's interpretation when they see other people connecting. So yeah, it's other people's. It's watching other people be social, not actually being social.
Yeah,
The
okay.
attempt is to remove characters removing themselves from socializing. Yeah. But yeah, that's where this. So.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this creates them an idea where there is something missing through having experienced something, but through having accepted an idea to be the case, which is connection, to be there and to be a part of like your life you would like to, like, I guess, be there because it makes you feel better. It creates the idea of a void when that isn't there. When a void is but in this character's case, the void was unnaturally created. You should not need people because you couldn't connect with them anyway to fill an emptiness which wasn't meant to actually have ever like been found or like created, not like found. So yeah. So yeah, that sort of thing, that sort of idea of like that void is being filled, and having it filled means that you are now using someone and using like selfishly anyway in this case and using the term care or love or companionship. Those are the terms which are used, I guess, to fill something that should not be the case. So yeah, it's painful. Apparently, it's also selfish on the part of the person trying to share anything, just because it means it's offering them the opportunity to understand this idea, which creates that void, which then brings them pain when you originally said you cared about them. Can't care about something you're hurting anyway. Well, you can, but not in this case. To really care is to stay completely away.
Do you think this links to the second theme, which is more based on communication, though?
Well, this is all context for why nothing should be left behind, because there is no real thing to be left behind. It's only ever you alone with your thoughts. It's just the character coming to realize the future is a possibility.
Okay.
And is important. And I assume there'll be like a special character they'll like, and then they'll make them question, although I don't know. The story. I'm just giving the character's thought.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I guess it's a learning to care kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's certainly a lot there.
What was I writing? I said that loneliness was a disease passed on by the darkest of us.
Jesus.
That's the edgiest thing I've ever heard.
Ella's concerned face there.
I mean,
I caught the loneliness from you.
Like a common cold. No, okay, yeah, that's definitely a what I would consider like a darker approach.
yeah, it's not happy, but I thought
No, it's good.
I mean, it could be worse.
Yeah.
I thought, I mean, if we're gonna fix it, we need to show it broken and then fix.
Yeah, no, of course.
Okay, so that was all like a bunch of stuff I needed to get organized into proper thoughts. That's why I took weird, like I couldn't say it properly. But yeah, these are like 3 paragraphs I actually did properly, where I explained this character's I explained what the problem is in communication, what the problem is in friendship, and what the problem is in legacy. Which, I mean, they will end up being legacy, and why it's not important, why it's shouldn't be important. Anyway, I'll just read straight.
Is this from a point of view or continuing the theme?
I mean, everything's my sorry.
Is this from your point of view as a designer, or is this from like your character world perspective?
I mean, it's my character world perspective, but
Okay.
the thoughts have to come from me, so I have to sort of become the character.
Yeah, but you can ideate yourself, or whether they're at your actual beliefs or not.
I mean, partially some of this stuff were my beliefs at one point, but yeah, these aren't my beliefs.
Okay.
I mean, these have gone beyond my beliefs to be like, what are you doing? What?
Ella's died.
Why?
Just turn around, just lying down, looking like, oh no. Anyway.
Sorry.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll just read straight off of this thing. So this is the problems with communication. I hope I've written this properly because I haven't actually looked through it. To have even thought of the words to coherently say aloud is a misrepresentation of what was the case, because it's constrained to a format as a way to communicate it so that others may also make sense of partial selections anyway, from the whole. An honest thought is an unspoken, uncompromising one that does not take other forms to be validated. We know this, but pretend it isn't the case. That's why people have the line, there are no words, or words cannot express. At important times we know not to distort what's ours and what's real. Music is the same. The artist wastes their time because it becomes the listener's understanding of it, making it then the listener's music. The most we can do is stay out of it or risk further abstracting the original understanding with only familiar concepts. So that's the problem with attempting to communicate. Problem with friends. I should probably change the problem with connection. Even if a connection were real, it wouldn't be nurturing because people have preferences, which again is another way to say conditions. And with time, these conditional standards, they knew as of that specific time, people will have no... Wait, what? Anyway, it's just saying that the standards will over time not be met because people change, and so each dependent person on the other person will eventually be let down if people are to remain true to themselves, is what I should probably explain a bit further. Companions are even worse. Sharing with another is a way to kill individuality, stance, and ideas with whoever receives this treatment. Nurturing teamwork, companionship, this introduction of another for help, is making deals with compromise, agreeing to be lesser expressions of ourselves to find common ground. It's forfeiting a genuine existence and living through other people's standards. So yeah, those problems with the connection and problems with legacy is memories with a purpose which are unable to be understood from the beginning will not produce the intended outcome of the messenger. Why leave behind some grand legacy when its outcome is going to be left unseen regardless of interpretation again and again? The message would be a likeness that becomes vaguer and more disconnected from each person passing it on. There is no purpose for investment or care and effort when everything is just based on limited time. What we feel at any moment is all there can be, and this does not matter or affect the future in any significant way. So yeah, that was all I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that genuinely depressing.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely I know what you're doing and I see it. It is depressing.
It's meant to become the opposite.
Because this is like the starting point of where to move on from. That's
True. It's just
I guess
where do we go from here? Because these are very deep-seated thoughts, and people that often think like this are not adverse to change, which is my concern with it. Because there's people that are so deep set in what they do and how they think, those mentalities are almost impossible to change. And trying to work on developing a narrative where that's changed could come across as false.
I see. I mean,
you
say that. I mean, I'm not like this. I was 40-50% like this, but maybe a bit more. But I don't know. Maybe we could like dull it down. Maybe water it down. Do the thing I said we shouldn't do, and express our thoughts and compromise for one another.
This is a part of being in a team.
No, teams aren't real.
Ignores Discord.
Turns off Discord.
Uninstalls. Goodbye.
But yeah, I feel like that we can take that into account. We can
Yeah.
do less. I could make it personal and make it the way like I used to think, and we can work off of something that's a bit more, able to be changed at all. If
I-
you think the person's stubborn,
I think it's just the case of like it's being careful that when we're designing characters and narratives that we don't go so far down into the depths of depression and like negative thinking, which is obviously this has a lot of connotations to that. There's almost no way back up that doesn't feel disingenuine.
Right. Yeah. Because I guess. So what you're saying is you don't want to make it seem fantastical that someone could somehow get out of the pit that they've dug themselves into.
I don't think it's fantastical to leave this.
No,
place.
no, no. Well, you say to leave. Like, I guess there's a difference between changing how you feel to see the other side and to be genuinely hopeful about. I think.
I mean,
But-
this person can be maybe the word. I mean, if you want, I could even have not finished reading, and just before finishing my entire thought, I could say, I don't know, something around what's the point, but then have a thought which goes, there must be something, and so this person is constantly trying to be wrong about this
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's not good.
But no, because I think it's interesting. It's interesting stuff. So I think it is just looking at specific areas of it and going, we could use that as a main focus, potentially, and going, like, where can we go from this bit? Where can we go from that bit? Because I don't know do you feel, George, that it's just as a whole that it's too extreme, like, and that certain parts could be picked out, or do you think it is?
Oh yeah,
just-
no, I think there are definitely parts that could be picked out. I think it's really good. I really like it. I think it's very, very in depth. I think it's been very well constructed. It's which is what I like about it. I think there's a lot of things that we can take from that. It's obviously been well put together, but obviously it's like we don't want to make people feel genuinely unhappy in an experience.
Well, that was my what my intention was, only because I was afraid of people being like, this person. I thought if this person was like a particularly unique case, it's more believable than someone attempting to be, I guess, well, what we would attempt to write someone up to be like real, in a more like, I guess, in a way that reflects us a bit more, only because I feel like if we don't write the same way people are accurately enough, people might not get the message that loneliness is sad. Like, having no thinking of the future as something that's not quite, there.
I think people know that. I think almost everybody's been through times of loneliness. I think it's something that people can easily connect to. I don't think there's any need for like artificially inserting emotions, because I think the grand thing with loneliness, although it's not grand at all, is that everybody's experienced it at some point in their lives.
Which we'll discuss later on.
Just by having connotations towards that, people can connect to it. And that's the powerful thing about your theme, is that people will connect to parts of it. It's just not, I think, inserting things that people don't connect to and breaking that feel of,
I guess so.
it's just making, I think for me, in my personal opinion, it's making sure that things aren't taken too far to me feeling worse than I am or misinterpreting things.
I see. I would think the opposite. Well, if you think it's like people would misinterpret it, then okay. I thought it was the opposite, though. I thought that because the contrast between what could help this character when it showed up was like there, and the things that were making this character lonely and like whatever I thought that contrast would make it obvious the things we should be concentrating on when we want to attempt to move away from our own like loneliness. Just because
Okay.
I thought the two went together in an obvious way that I don't know.
So, in regards to like a narrative or a game, do you have any ideas of how one would step away from that current personality? Because obviously we were working on the idea of Ella's vision, which was the upward spiral. So, is there obviously you've developed this sort of cohesion? Do you have any idea of how they would get out of that? What is essentially a rut of this is how I feel. I'm not open to change. I have my very unique way of looking at everything.
I know, like, because Bernie said earlier, the possibility of there being someone that the person actually cares about, and like that's one of the things you said, right?
Yeah, I thought. I mean, I say yeah. I mean, it can be like I'm open to like ideas. I didn't want to offer up solutions. I wanted to offer up problems regarding loneliness, and then how to fix those problems one at a time or all at once, or however we felt like it would be best done. The first, like, I mean, the way I moved out of that, the only reason I said it is because the way I like stopped being lonely is by like friends, and so, but which was unusual for me anyway, because I didn't talk to people and I didn't like speaking with people, and I wouldn't. I mean, the way I moved away from is from having actually found genuine interest in people, which I mean, my parents like would like be super happy when I spoke about anyone, and that's the only way they could tell I actually liked some things because I wasn't shouting at the TV, and yeah, it was just that. I don't know. That's where I got it from. Anyway, the idea that that one basic one, just a person can be special, and so that could like change your views,
Yeah.
or question them anyway, and make you rethink stuff.
Yeah,
I guess.
I think that's really good.
But then I'm a bit afraid of people thinking like all I have to do is rely on someone and I'm saved.
Yeah, no, there's obviously that, but it depends whether we want to build an experience that players are connecting to and associate with, or whether we're building an experience that they can have relations to.
Well, I think even then, if like the person is able to move past the person that might help them to care and learn to use that on other people who aren't,
Yeah,
that
even
person.
without that person,
Yeah.
they can be happier, or feel less
Yeah.
lonely.
Because in a narrative sense, like character growth is shown by like, oh, they're applying what they've learned like outside the circumstances or whatever, so if they do learn to care through someone, then I guess if that person leaves somehow, is gone, and they're still, and
They help other people.
they'll struggle with it and then realize, no, because I've learned these lessons from this person. Or not even like actively say that or whatever, but like demonstrate that they have learned a lesson. But that's in like a narrative sense, That's
Yeah, it would just be like a bunch of question and gradual change.
yeah.
Yeah.
Away from that, and that would collateral onto the way they would want to be acting, but question the way they were acting. Like they would have reacted with, completely turning away and walking away from the conversation or whatever, or ignoring a conversation happening in the background or something, and instead find themselves distracted from what they were actually doing or
Yeah.
something. Just over time, they would struggle to find that they could be alone even when they were surrounded with people, and like before when they would be like, oh, well, no, but just like
I think-
completely non-existent in the background.
I think character growth and character development will be the key
Yeah.
to making that work.
But you did say you don't like
No, not at all.
straightforward stuff.
I think it can work if done correctly.
it would require a lot of story.
The problem that George had, though it's not a problem that I shared with it, was with Up, that because it was, I'm assuming because it was such a short thing at the beginning, that you felt it was made to make you feel a certain way for utilitarian purposes, like to go...
In some cases, yes.
Okay.
But as I say, I have mixed views on whether that's a good thing or not, because I think sometimes it's important. Sometimes I feel like it depends on the quality of the content that you're engaging with in the first place. If you are watching something shit and it is making you feel a certain way, it feels very non-real. It disconnects me.
Right.
I don't feel... in fact, I feel I care less about it if they try and make me care more.
It's like the Mary Sue can do everything. It's like they want you to be impressed, and when you feel that they're wanting you to feel a certain way, I guess, like you notice tropes when you...
It's like when I watch like things and I know that they're bringing characters to kill them off later on. It's obvious that's the only purpose why they're in the media scene or whatever. And I clock this as soon as they come in. I'm like, they're going to die because that's the only way that the character is going to be used to develop or whatever. And these people have no personalities.
The
They're
majority
shit characters.
Of the case, anyway.
Yeah,
there are several like The Walking Dead constantly brings in new characters
to kill them off. A lot of the time.
To kill who off?
The characters in Walking Dead.
Well, yeah, the majority of them they get killed off, but a bunch of them are like, what's his name? The King Ezekiel.
Like, there's like one character from season 1 left. Because they kill them all off. And they're so obviously going to kill them off, and it's like, oh.
Who's left from the season 1? It's just Daryl and Carol, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, spoilers. But it's been out for ages. You've got a chance to watch it.
Program I'm going to watch.
No, but it's just like, these characters exist just to kill them off so that they can accentuate the main characters. And that is not real to me. And that makes me like, once you've done that so many times, or once that exists for the purpose of that, I struggle to connect with it personally. But there are also cases where it works really well.
Yeah, in The Walking Dead.
I don't think it works well in The Walking Dead. Oh, really? Because they've just done it over and over and over again. It's the only thing that they use. There's 8 seasons. They should have stopped at 3, but that's my opinion.
3?
Yeah.
What about the new director? The new director was great. He made it 100 times better.
Rubbish.
No, it was amazing.
I feel like I could fly out of the room now and my lack of presence wouldn't be felt because I have no clue about The Walking Dead
Anyway,
and I don't care.
You shouldn't. It's rubbish.
It's not rubbish. It's cool. It was about feelings with the new director.
It's not. It's rubbish.
It's about money.
It is.
I don't know.
No, but yeah, no. Anyway, but yeah, no, there's a sweet spot, and it's a difficult thing for me to definitively give you an answer on because some things characters dies and I'm like, damn, that was really good.
Curses.
Like, I'm really sad that they are dead because they represented a part, or they had a potential future in which I felt had a purpose to serve outside of just accentuating a main character.
Yeah.
And that's really important because when people have futures and you're like, these could be this person, they could do this, they could have an actual, like, I don't know, they could have a part in this.
And it's taken away.
And then you're taken away. I feel genuinely upset because I'm like, damn, they had a future and I'm never going to be able to get to see that.
Bless you.
Bless you. But yeah, no, just killing off characters that have no purpose other than to make the main character feel better shouldn't be in there in the first place.
Yeah, sure. I agree. I mean, most things do that, which is upsetting, but there's stuff like things that have like very few characters where like each character has a super specific like purpose and like personality. There's stuff like, what's the film? Like, not Up, Her. Like, that's got what? Probably less than like 10 characters, maybe less than 7.
I haven't seen it.
Neither have I.
It's just a good romance film about a guy who falls in love with his operating system.
Yeah.
It was cool. What?
Sounds good.
It was really good. I really liked it
you.
anyway. Yeah, that used the exact number of main actors that it needed, and it didn't really have like side characters apart from like the main character's like friend, which you would sometimes confide in, which I guess that is a sort of I guess that is one of those cases where it's like, why are you here? But there are other films like Lost in Translation with characters I don't know the name of other than Scarlett Johansson. That's got like 2 main characters.
Yeah.
Actually, it's got 2 main characters. The other ones are like necessary to the plot because it's about like a. I don't want to give spoilers. They're important to the character, but there's only like 2 main characters. It fully concentrates on the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, we can just not do that. We can just not have cannon fodder.
Yeah, no, that's why a part of me really likes when they kill off the main character, because the main character's been the focus for so long, and it's obvious that they're building up to a future, and then when they take that away, there's something in there that's really annoying.
Because even when it's martyrdom and you feel it coming, it can still be sad, because you go, I know this person's going to die because that seems to be what they're intending to do, but I don't want them to die because like
they're the future and they can do this, and you know what
they
they're
can,
capable of.
yeah. But you know.
Yeah. That sounds good. I mean, don't kill them off just because they're the main character and you want it to like have more meaning because they meant something. I mean, only if it's necessary to kill them, but
Because I like it when they kill them off because it feels like they're not. Because a lot of the time they'll make a thing and they'll cling on to the main character, even though their arc makes sense for them to die or something.
Yeah.
They'll hang on to them in case they want another film or another.
well, you just said
series.
what I said to do. If they have to die, kill them.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I felt that way during one of the episodes of The Walking Dead, where one episode was clearly being like, if this was your last day on Earth. I can't remember, but anyway, they were like suggesting something was going to happen, and Glenn died, and I was like, "Oh shit, okay."
Walking Dead's stupid, man.
It's not stupid.
Stupid. They spent like 3 episodes teasing the character's death, and he gets fucking trips over a rock and dies in the episode after.
What?
It is. It's just
What?
like I just don't like it. I like the way I like the concept behind it, but actually the way it's done is not good in my opinion. But as I say, that's opinion based. You're welcome to enjoy it. Like,
Aggressive
I'm not enjoying
shrugs.
it.
Yeah.
Aggressive
Okay.
shrugs.
It's true.
Don't care.
Aggressively angry
I'm only
about Walking
recently
Dead.
not enjoying it, but yeah, it's definitely.
Then stop
turned
watching
to,
it.
No.
It just stop giving them views and money and just stop.
I only watch a pirated.
Listen, this is our podcast. You can't say that.
It's the roses.
Right. We are growing short of time, so I suggest that we move on.
Sure.
We can come back to it.
So
Once
should
we've
we
all had a little thought.
go to the next idea or something? Or
Yes,
should we-
I suggest.
okay.
Then at least we've got one consistent bundle of ideas, and then because obviously I know that you need to get 3.
Yeah, well, like
Which is-
20 past 3 or so.
Okay.
But yeah, you know.
Well, but yeah, no, that's if we have a think about that, then we explain a little bit. I think mine's shorter than yours, so that should give us time
Okay.
to
Sure.
talk about it. Whatever. So mine's far more gaming than yours is. Mine's just things to consider that could be interesting. So we worked on the idea of legacy and passing stuff on, which is really interesting because I like the idea of indirect contact between people and how that might inspire this feeling of there being people around you but not directly being able to talk to them or interact with them, and seeing how that might feel in a game environment. Because we spoke about empty servers, empty games where people leave stuff behind, and how you imagine the stories and the places they've been and the things that they've done. And I think that's really interesting because as far as I'm aware, the only similar thing that we realised that did anything like that was the Dark Souls ghosting and the Dark Souls bloodstains.
Yeah, and messages, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. But so that was really interesting. So from that, I developed some things that I thought were interesting. The idea that maybe you're in a world in which there is no definitive direction to go in. There's no specific route to get to your destination. Perhaps you don't even know exactly what your destination is. Maybe you're just given a very rough idea. And it's so vast, or there's so much going on, that the only thing that you have to work on is the idea of other players pioneering the way around for you. So it works on generation based of players, in which a player will enter the experience, play it for however long, and then they leave the experience never to come back. But what they leave behind is then given to the next player. They give whatever they get is given to the next player, and so on and so forth, until one player eventually solves.
I'm not going to sneeze.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I said I'm not going to.
Yeah, until one player eventually solves whatever it is that's around the world. So this works in the idea that perhaps it's almost the understanding that whatever, if you are one of the first players, you will probably not be able to complete the game in that current world. It's the idea that you have to for the world to be completed, you have to leave some sort of thing behind, be that discovery, be that figuring something out and being able to document it somehow, and then leaving it behind and never returning. So it's the idea that people help each other across, well, never meeting, never contacting each other directly, or maybe even seeing each other. That's never going to be a thing. But
only seeing remnants.
Exactly. But it was an interesting thing because that also works the idea of passing time, which I think is important, especially when building relationships, because it has connotations towards how we might evolve and change over time. The ideas might change and the people might change.
Yeah.
I find that really interesting. Obviously, none of this is definite. None of this is as well formed as like Bernie's idea is. This is very much more open to sort of input, which is what I was hoping for, because this is where I've been kind of getting lost with actually getting the definitive things down. But yeah, no, those are the things that are really interesting me.
I know one of the concerns you were having was like, why do people do it? Like
this page.
Yeah, so I remember what I said when you said you were wondering about that. That like research and scientific and historical discovery, they all those fields sit on each other's shoulders. The shoulders of their and like predecessors. All towards just contributing towards the fixed goal of maintaining understanding. So I guess you already said about the possibility of having a thing that's just understanding something, didn't you? But yeah, if it's learning how a thing is or works, like maybe figuring out a narrative or something like that, then I guess that's where that idea could go. And I guess an important part of that would be branches of like, if people can only go like for a certain amount of time or for a certain distance, then making use of that to go in a certain direction to do a certain thing before they, stop. So that people aren't just feeling like they're going through a set path. So I guess that's the thing. Like, they have to feel like they're genuinely contributing by the way in which they interact with the world.
Yes, no, that would obviously have to be something, which is why it would have to. A lot of it would have to be non-linear. I think a narrative has a place and it works.
Absolutely.
But I don't think it can be a way of like, this is the one route you go down, everybody has to go down it. It's very much because I was talking to Bernie yesterday and he suggested the idea of like, what happens if all players just start in a massive forest where there is no direction to go in necessarily. You can go in any direction and explore and go out and out and out and out. And the further you go, obviously, the further away from sort of like everybody else you might be going, which means it adds a little bit more sort of like individuality. Like you might discover something that nobody else has. And just this idea of maybe there is no, like there's so much to go in. You have to commit to one space, one direction, or follow somebody else's. Try and continue what they left behind.
Because I guess the problem with that is like, where's the intended experience? Like, so if you want people to feel a certain way, if you want like them to be able to connect or something, you might want like characters or something like that. Or
I can briefly there was a vague idea. The purpose of having the purpose we continued on from for giving players a reason to branch, like.
Hello, you're right.
Sorry, I've got a stupid headache.
Oh,
I have a.
Do you want to take ibuprofen?
I already did.
Oh, damn.
Have you tried water as well? Okay.
It's okay. Keep going.
Okay. So the sorry. I'm just sick at the moment. It's making me tired.
Nice.
No problem.
I look forward to catching it.
The reason that we thought of, one of the reasons we thought of to give players a reason to have a reason to, move, was that maybe they needed to find something that they should all, one of the ideas we thought of was that they could all have something they are trying to find and collect all together to form a better, a more clearer image of something everyone is trying to figure out. So everyone is meant to bring back, I guess, maybe to the center, and there's like something they're meant to collect, put their thing they found down, write a little note about what they found with like real text or something, to be like, I found this on this like specific location. And maybe everyone has a map so that no one gets lost. Maybe they can see the branches other people took, and maybe they can like, or maybe they can just, it can be like Fortnite, you can like mark a thing on the map and be like, I found this right here. So,
I guess, because then the problem is, like, if you have set objectives that you're working towards getting, then, like, would you feel that you're genuinely, like, choosing to do a thing to help other people, or would you feel like you're choosing to do a thing because it's the objective you're being given?
I think there's a really nice thing in trying to, not being actively told what to do. It's that whole, like, I am dropped into this world where I know absolutely nothing at the moment. I don't know anybody that's been here before. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know where they're at. But I'm going to try and piece things together in the time that I have. I'm going to try and understand what they are. I'm going to try and connect to these people. I'm going to try and understand where they've been, why they went there, what they left behind, and build this connection with people that you may never ever talk to. It's like that, when people try and do like family trees and stuff and talk and like figure out their ancestors. Like they'll never be able to talk to those people. They'll never be able to have a direct conversation with them. But it's just trying to interpret and figure out what they did, where they were, and why they did it.
Yeah, this conversation sort of made us think of two other important ideas we never like fully past, which was that the game has not that it's a problem, but the game would have no replayable value once a thing had been like done, especially because if you know where things are, you can just go collect it all by yourself and bring it back and have no experience with anyone. And so we started talking about how the world should be procedurally generated because of that. But I think there's still the problem isn't whatever they're trying to figure out wouldn't be different. It would just maybe the pieces would maybe be hidden somewhere else where it is you're finding. I don't know. But
I think it's a difficult one. I think
yeah.
procedural generation is not something ideally that I'd want to
work
with.
It makes things feel less genuine
Exactly.
As an experience. And also people would still, because if they're like replaying to go, oh, where's the new thing now? You kind of lose the initial, I guess, like
So you're saying it should
intention.
always stay the same? Well, the intention was to have experienced something with someone to reach an overall goal.
Yeah, but when you're like going, I wonder where the new thing is. You no longer are trying to work together to build up a mystery. You're working together to tick boxes, I guess. Like if you're replaying it in the first place. So, building around replaying the thing, I don't know, like...
Yeah, it could come with design difficulties and having to compromise the quality of the first experience.
I think, because the thing is the thing you said before of the experience rather than the gamey game.
Well, that's my thing, is that this would be less of a enjoyable game, more of a unique experience that hasn't been had before, which is obviously looking at different things. It's maybe not like the game that people might want to play, but it's something that is interesting and hasn't been done before.
To me, it sounds like the sort of thing you'd have as an installation, as something that people would go into the booth, try it, leave, and be done with it. So the next person who goes into the booth would take over.
Oh god, that would take forever. Say there was like 40 players. Sorry.
Was that Ella?
Nothing.
Okay.
Oh,
Sounds like an Easter egg.
Oh.
Yeah.
It would be something smaller.
That wasn't a bad statement.
in its current state, it's built around like that small experience. I think it could be worked around to develop into more of a game.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the paradigms would have to shift, which is obviously why I wanted to discuss it, because where I'm at the moment isn't necessarily the place where it should be or where it should finish. But
we spoke of a second idea which had the same problem but way more severe, which was dropping players into a world where they would like work out the world like one after another the same way, but we only suggest that there is something to be done, but people don't actually ever. But there isn't anything to do. It's just the idea of a shared experience and seeing how people react to thinking they are sharing an experience to see if it works. Because it'll be interesting to know whether the game is enjoyable with the thought of I am doing something for someone else and someone has already done something for me. Let's see how far we can take this to figure this out.
it's true, but how do you market that? I mean, when people ask, like, what do I do? You're like, you find something.
I think it'd also be the question of, like, if you're helping people, what are you helping them with? Like,
I feel
you need to
like...
have...
No, yeah, that was the problem, and that's
Yeah.
why we suggested stuff like maybe it was more of an exploration thing where you do find, well, there is something to actually find and look at.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some story in the environment. But yeah, no, it was a difficult idea. It was about like producing the feeling and not actually having a purpose other than, I guess it's a test to see how people are when they think something, when they think other people can be there or were there and will be there.
The alternate thing is that we abstract this and strip it back completely, and we develop more of a narrative-based experience in which you can see signs of the previous player around the place as more of like an environmental aesthetic or a touch rather than a mechanically based experience.
Like if characters have already spoken to the person who came before you and have already been affected by the person who came before you or something.
Yeah, or
Something
like,
different.
I don't know, you enter a campsite and like the
Yeah.
fire's gone out and you know that was the fire of somebody else before you.
Well, like, we've had that in Breath of the Wild. I know, like, I think Ella, you were at a shrine, bless you, and there was a campfire next to it, and you were like, this must mean something. And I was like, someone's must have been here because they've put a campfire here. It's just up a cliff edge. There's no reason to be here, therefore it must be important. But yeah, you know, I guess something as simple as that. You know.
Or like you can draw stuff on the walls and maybe you see stuff that previous players have drawn around.
Featuring penises.
But
Bless you.
Jesus Christ, Bernie.
Aggressive sniz.
No, I really like that idea. It's just figuring out a way to convey it and get it across.
I mean, just having a world where something is apparent which has made it apparent where something has happened in the past, and you can connect it enough to the point you can see a story. There's several games which rely on that. There's stuff like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, Gone Home. There's stuff like what's that game? Doesn't matter. Anyway, there's games that rely on environmental storytelling and obviously has words in the background, which is not helpful because it's not environmental anymore. But I guess Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is a good example of something having happened, and everything suggests something because there's a bunch of similarities in how something happened.
I know because Hyper Light Drifter, like there are, apart from because there are characters who show you images of things that happened before, but there are also like you go through the environment and you start to piece things together based on what you're seeing, because environmental storytelling is the thing, and like there is no spoken dialogue in that game. I'm pretty sure. Like
Journey's also, I think, another one.
yeah, I guess because with Journey, the like linear experience itself, I'm saying, it is more like the story and the feelings that it gives. But yeah, there is environmental storytelling in it. I guess it wasn't like the enormous focus of the thing to be figuring out what happened before. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry, Vernon.
I'm just
My condolences.
and I'm dying.
Jesus
Everybody's
Christ.
dying. Half the team's down.
I look at Ella and she's just face palming.
Ella, are you okay? I've got a fucking terrible headache as well. Genuinely,
Am I the
don't
only
think-
one here who isn't dead?
They-
I've
I'm not
lost
too
some
bad.
sleep.
I'm not
So
too bad.
okay.
Well, I banged my elbow this morning. Well,
I dropped my milkshake. That's what I did.
it's true. I mean, I don't know. It's not formulated yet. I think I'm going to spend the next 2 days working on it.
Sure.
To try and develop something, because I feel like there really is something in it, but I'm not sure what yet.
Okay.
So
I think one of the ideas
Oh my god.
that we also spoke about with
Yeah.
yours yesterday was related to each player having a purpose for what they give over to each. I mean, the purpose they have so that they are able to give something over to the next player. I was just thinking maybe it would be interesting if each player had their own, I guess, their own specialized thing they can do, so that they can give over that what they produce to the next player, which wouldn't be able to do that. And the player after that will have their own specialty, and then it makes it easier to do something.
So hypothetically, that could be like in this hypothetical game, players are dropped in a world at random. They don't know where, and they're given a purpose in which to. That's their task for for the next person, I guess. So that could be anything from like mapping the environment to gathering food or something for the next player.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, sorry, you were going to say something. I was just going to suggest it could be something similar to Don't Starve. Just the way you have to organize what each other are going to do, so you're not both wasting time doing the same thing.
I guess because the problem I have the same problem with Don't Starve that I have with other things, but that's because it's a synchronous thing and that you're like, it's easy to just be following like what someone's saying do. But because on that premise, if like someone has multiple tools, they spawn in with a random set of tools and they can do like things with them, they can't do things that the tools can't be used for or something. So they can manipulate the environment with those tools for the next person in order to make progress. So you've got like, I don't know, you've got a saw or something you can get
you
through.
chop down some trees so players can get through. But yeah,
I mean, that could. I mean, if players, let's say that players, I mean, since it's passing down a legacy, at the end of, I guess, each play session from each player, maybe they could leave behind like an encyclopedia along with their tools, so that in case they were behind, then you're unable to progress without being more efficient in something. It stops like any players like, I guess, screwing each other over, or even just I needed more time, I couldn't do it because I know it's a procedurally generated environment, and so I needed to do something which was really difficult because I can only do it really far away, so it didn't give me enough time.
I think what if it isn't procedurally generated? What if this is there is an area, like maybe a labyrinth or something that they have to get through, and they'll only be able to get through it. Like there are multiple ways through it, maybe, but they'll only be able to get through it by properly using what they're able to do, and they know that they can't do everything, so they'll need to pass it on to someone else in order to continue the job. But yeah,
does Ella have any thoughts, or are you headached?
gosh.
Okie dokie.
My condolences.
I've got nothing interesting to contribute. I just feel like I'm about to die and I don't know why.
That's a shame. Well, I guess.
Sorry.
No, don't
No,
apologise.
it's a shame that you feel like that, not
Yeah.
that you can't contribute. No, I'm like, I guess the good news is that if we're recording this, then you could look back on some of the things that you missed if you wanted to, and then
Yeah.
you can. It's not like your views won't be heard, and always you can always add stuff as well.
Bless you. As long as you're not like compounding the headache by feeling bad about like not contributing, because
Yeah.
don't feel bad.
It's fine.
Bless you.
Well, considering everybody's dying, I say we should probably wrap it up as a short one.
Ah, I see.
But
It's only 50 minutes less.
I know, but like half of our team is dead. You can't communicate anymore. Ella's got a headache.
Yeah, we're like super invested in making sure that the legacy is done through and done in a way where you couldn't see the previous or like player, right? Is that, or can we leave a legacy by being able to be surrounded by more players? I'm just wondering whether it can be multiplayer.
I think it would be because the point of it is passing the baton by
Yeah.
asynchronous.
I think
right?
it'd be ruined by actual multiplayer. I think actual players like communicating directly with each other would possibly break the wall of being lonely.
Yeah,
'Cause the
that's
point
the
is
thing.
that you do whatever you do completely on your own with the knowledge that other people are around you
Yeah.
helping for the same thing.
to say, yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, no, continue.
I was just going to say that that's a thing people will, I think, attempt to do anyway. I mean, horror games aren't meant to be played with friends, but you will invite friends to watch you play horror games. I know I know the first time I played Outlast was because it was just sitting there, and Elle and Sid had it up, so I just sort of went through the entire thing, and then because they couldn't do it themselves because they were scared, so I was like, this game is dumb.
But people
You
like
cowards.
to play lonely games in groups because it makes them feel less lonely.
Yeah, and I'm just worried, like, maybe this is one of those experiences
That's
that
not a bad
requires
thing.
that.
I think if
Well, you
people,
just said it would ruin the experience to have communication.
I don't think. I think if players choose to get together and play the experience as a group, then that's a good thing because that means we've developed something that people feel like they need other people around them to feel happier.
Yeah, I guess because as long as the message can be like got across that it is like you're not alone in that you're helping other people, you know.
I think the concern with this one is it's further away from the original vision, which was the upward spiral, where it's very much more of a consistent experience in which you are aware of these things
Yeah.
and you're presented these things, which makes it neither lonely or not lonely. It makes it a middle ground.
We should probably research what you what you both said about the reasoning for which people play games together through some sort of actual official like survey. You know, there was like some a survey or like a discussion, just to be sure it's not because it makes them feel less lonely. Just to be sure we're not relying on a thing that would make people want to be together, but that doesn't actually mean that they feel less alone because they were alone.
Well, because
Lee.
you know we've done research into like the fact that people naturally need other people anyway. Because we're past the research phase, like that's a thing.
It's just ideation and working within our own.
And prototyping and stuff. So you know, I wouldn't worry too much about making sure everything we do right now is fully like researched, as long as we have an idea, and that our ideas are like fueled by initial research and stuff. You know.
Okay. So we don't. Okay.
Because we know that, like, from experience, we know that, like, people play with people for the togetherness of it, you know. They don't play with people in the room just because people are in the room, you know.
And the thing is that no one research is going to encompass everyone anyway, so it may as well just... I mean, if we're basing it on personal experiences, then that's enough in that regard. Because we know that it is true for some people. It's not I don't think it's going to be true for everybody, because people play things differently, but
Yeah.
then, I don't know, half the people don't like horror games. doesn't mean that horror games aren't correct.
Are you suggesting that they aren't? 'Cause,
Don't know. Is it? Don't think I'm remembering properly, but aren't horror games like the least successful genre?
well, I wouldn't say least successful, but they're not very successful compared to other ones, like compared to action adventure or just standard action games, because people don't want to have negative experiences, I assume. But yeah, they don't sell massive. Well, because big dumb publishers are like, oh, we're disappointed with the sales of this. Like, what are you expecting? It's a horror game. But yeah.
I wonder if that's true. If that is still true. If people still believe that anyway after Until Dawn, because people really enjoyed that. I thought the game was garbage, but they produced another game. Right, they're producing. Huh?
It wasn't scary though.
It wasn't scary, and Josh was the best, and he died. And
Wait, no, you can save everyone.
not
What
Josh.
was-
Yeah.
Not Josh. Josh dies every time. He either becomes a necromorph or he dies.
Spoilers.
You can save everyone, I thought.
No, just the characters you.
Necromorph
Every
is not
single
the
person
word.
you can save, but not Josh.
Okay.
Josh will always die, and he was the best. It's not right.
What? Wait, is he the arsehole?
Yeah, he's not an arsehole. He was nice.
He's the crazy guy.
You're saying, I remember actually, you said he's right because he was just responding to them being bad to him.
Yeah.
You don't respond like that. You don't try killing people.
He didn't kill anyone. He tried to scare them. Other things were killing them. That's not his fault.
He pretended to be like a murderer.
Yeah.
You don't do that. He was mentally scar people. That's wrong.
They killed him. They killed his sisters. Sorry.
No, they didn't intentionally kill his sisters.
They were bullying.
They were bullying. That's out
That's
of
a-
order. But you don't then get revenge by Anyway, this
Look.
is a completely different thing. This is personal
outcome of
principles.
bullying-
You don't pick on people in response to bullying because that's a vicious cycle and it's dumb.
But it was the people that were bullying. Look, if you have the knowledge that bullying can produce death, then you have accepted that you could kill people. And
What?
so to me, bullying is killing people.
I dip out of this conversation for 2 seconds and I come back and what's going on.
Yeah, no, let's stop it because this is a personal principle thing. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, you said Until Dawn, I'm assuming because it's popularity or something.
I assume because its popularity as well as saying, I assume is the reason they're making another game. I don't know what it
They've
is.
been making games since it came out.
horror games.
They made the on rails thing, which is an Until Dawn experience, which is I can't remember the name of the thing. Until Dawn something or other. They made the Inpatient, which is apparently bad. They made
Okay, never mind then.
yeah. They made another thing which was about people interacting on their phones. It was part of the PlayLink thing.
Is it not a AAA company that's making that game?
It's a decently sized company. I think it. What's their name?
I would have assumed.
Supermassive? Is that it? No, it's not
I mean,
Supermassive.
if you want, I can look it up. But I would have assumed that it was just based off of the way it looks. That it was. Is this the website?
No.
That's
This
not
isn't.
the
No,
website.
this is You can just go to the
Official
Wikipedia.
site.
It is Supermassive. Okay. Yeah. Sony went, hey, this kind of block, we're just going to get you to keep making things and to push PSVR and to push PlayLink. So they had them make other things like that. And now they're not working with Sony anymore. They're working with a different publisher on the horror thing, which will be probably somewhat like Until Dawn, but a bunch of different smaller experiences rather than one big one. But yeah, you're right there, Ella.
She looks good. She's fine.
Oh. Damn. But yeah.
Well, ow. We have discussed.
Try to say
Ow.
Yeah, we can continue.
I'll continue thinking about
Yes.
the things you said.
So we've discussed Bernie's ideas that he's had. We've discussed some of mine. We've had a heated debate about bullying, which I dipped out of completely because I was on my phone.
Solid. I will say because Ella has been working on ideas, and I've been working on getting a thing working, which we came up with at the end of last week. And yeah, so
my suggestion is we have another chat on like either tomorrow or Friday.
are we going to speak to Andy? Should we sign up for that? Because it is a sign up.
Yes, I'm happy to do that.
Bless you. Do you two want to sign up for that? Shall we?
Yeah, sure. How do you
Wait, what's that, Ella? Cut out.
Just me complaining. Yeah, bless you. I was just saying we have to. And I'm like, yeah, we do.
Oh.
Okay.
when is Andy?
When's Andy? Oh, you have to sign up at a certain time, I think. I didn't check the sign-up sheet, but it is an online sign-up sheet. First come, first serve, apparently. So,
Jesus.
I guess if we have a look at that in a sec, before I head off.
So only one of us needs to sign up, right? Because we'll just end up bringing the team.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if we do that, we can have another chat on Friday and
Could do.
sort of condense some of our ideas. That gives us a little bit longer to sort of formulate them a little bit more, because I know that's certainly something I want to do. Gives you a chance to finish your stuff up. It gives Ella a chance to finish her stuff up and hopefully feel better. And the pair of you hopefully feel better.
Don't die, you two.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Because Ella, are you back tomorrow or the next day?
I should be back tomorrow. I might even be back tomorrow.
Okay.
I am plugged in.
It's not turned on.
Oh.
Okie dokie. Well, that works fine, because then we could all be here for a chat on Friday.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll feel better.
What did you say about being here on Friday?
So if we have a chat with Andy as well, we could also have another group chat like this. Then we can continue chatting about our ideas, because this is quite a short one in the big picture of.
Watch some Jojo.
It's going to be great. It's going to be a great day. But yeah, that gives us a chance to chat with Andy externally, who can hopefully give us some interesting information.
Yeah.
You are huffing and puffing. I suggest you go home and get an early night, because you look like you're about to die.
I'm just really warm.
Never have I seen a human being regress so quickly.
you did just get the plague, though.
I think you might actually be dead within 20 minutes. I shouldn't laugh about that.
Yeah, sleep on it. Don't try to force yourself to get work done when you're dying. You've got a fever.
I mean, I don't know how long the cold's gonna last, so I'm not gonna account for feeling better, because in case it's 2 weeks,
It won't be 2 weeks.
don't have the time.
Not if you sleep and actually try to get better.
I need to practice for the companies I'll be working for. I'm gonna go to Rockstar
Oh,
and Treyarch. Yeah.
it's true. Yeah,
My favourite.
yeah. If you get ill, you're dead.
Is it okay?
You're dead and you have no job.
Yeah.
So
Out
If I
the
have a
window.
sip of this
Fine,
right
fine.
now, will I be fine?
Yeah,
sure.
that's opens Kit Kat when not on break. How dare you?
Fire on the spot. Anyway, back to the point. So today we've discussed Bernie's ideas. We've discussed some of my ideas. I think we can go into both of them a little bit further. I think we both need to work on them.
Yes.
We've had some semi-valuable input, so that's good.
I need to pee.
Okay.
But yeah, and obviously Dean's working on some really interesting programming stuff, so we can take a look at that as well. And I'm sure Ella's got some stuff as well, because she has the face of a woman that's hard at work. And so yeah.
Farewell, Ella.
Ella has left the call.
This is her sliding off at the end.
But
Goodbye.
but yeah, no, I think we'll call it there. A short one, which we can resume in a part 2.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So we're here. We're here with we're starting episode 2, part 2, because the first one everybody died in. So yeah, everybody's here today. So we are gonna start off with some comments from Dean about the prototype he's been working on.
Hey.
And then we're going to talk about ideas and consolidating them into a rough idea of direction of where we want to go for week 1. So yeah, we'll start off with Dean.
Sure. So I guess one of the things is I've been working on the feasibility of achieving a an experience where one person can play it and then pass it on to the next person by generating a seed that can be loaded into the next one. So I've basically developed a prototype. It's not quite finished yet. The movement isn't in there, but you have a hex grid, like a starting position and ending position, and between it there's empty space, and like you start with a blank seed, you put down 3 spaces, and then die. It places a gravestone on the place at which you died, and then like that's it. It generates from the grid, like where things have been placed. It's a bunch of booleans basically. It says like whether it's true or false in that space. Generates binary from that as like a string. Turns that string into bytes, and then turns the bytes into hexadecimal, and like exports the hexadecimal as a text file. And you can copy the contents of that text file into someone else's like load file, and then they can start as that, as like with that as their starting seed. So that's pretty much it, really. It's not done yet, but it's going to be finished probably today, if all goes according to plan, or if not, tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So this is obviously working on from our week 1 theme, which is the idea of passing the baton, which is kind of a little bit of legacy, but also obviously stemming from loneliness, which is the idea that maybe players don't directly communicate, but they inherit elements of the world or part of the game. Because we're really interested in the idea that maybe parts of the game lead on to another experience or another person's world, and people build towards that experience, which is obviously where Dean's been working on the idea of you complete a certain amount of actions, the game or experience finishes for you, and then it's passed on to another player.
Yeah, because you're alone in the moment, but then as like you won't be lonely generally because you're still together as a whole working towards a goal. That's the concept, I believe. But yeah, that's about it really.
Cool.
Yep.
Do we have any other thoughts?
On Dean's thing?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I don't think any of us do, but no. It's the principle of what it means. Obviously, Dean's handling all of the complicated stuff, and so it's not essential that you understand that, because
you'd get it if I just explained it more than just a sentence.
I mean, it's the ideas that we came up with that you've basically made a thing to work.
To prove that it is a possible and viable concept.
Yeah.
I mean, Dean's managed to do this in a week. Obviously, he's a genius, but the fact is that like this is actually a viable method for us to use and make into a game, which gives us time to work on other things, other mechanics, other things that we might actually feel could build a really cool game based around architecture that we know and understand that works.
So I guess I should also mention that I made that prototype, am making that prototype with the idea that the hexadecimal string that is output is shorter than the 150 character limit of a tweet, so that it can be tweeted out and shared over the internet. Just a tidbit, I guess. That's that.
Yeah. Is that... So is that... I mean, same thing as you. Does anyone want to share their thoughts on what Dean said?
I mean, it's great that it works and that he's managed to figure it out so quickly. I think it's a really cool idea. I think not a lot of things like this have ever been done before, and that's always exciting.
I mean, sort of. I mean, not like done in this manner, but you can load up... I mean, I could go into someone else's Igloo and Club Penguin and see what they...
For sure.
Nice.
I mean, that's the dream, right? But no, like obviously the idea about being able to save and share things has always been a possibility. But the idea of it being so easy to access from literally being several lines of just text that you can, not even that, less than that you can literally just paste in and gives you an entirely different experience every time. It's like Minecraft on steroids.
I guess because it's more just the one small little experience to demonstrate the idea, I guess, because it isn't like elaborate or anything. It's because it's all placeholder assets as well and all that. But
I mean, we can try it with some more advanced stuff the further we go, if we choose to take that further.
It's true. But yeah, it's more, I guess, the fact that it is feasible as a thing that can be done, of loading seeds. So yeah, that's that.
I'm just worried about when you say that it's a different experience every time. We'll obviously need to come up with
I mean, the experience will be produced by us. I'm just wondering how we'll make a unique experience each and every time.
Wow.
Make it meaningful.
That's why we also design a narrative and we also chat about ideas, which
Sure,
is the point of how we
Yeah.
obviously turn this concept and this theme from something that fundamentally we understand to something that is actually fun, enjoyable, people want to connect with, and is actually a really exciting experience, which is obviously the point of this discussion,
Right.
to develop some ideas, to talk about them, to see where they're going and if they're going to work or not.
Okay. In that case, should we start off with that last bit then? See if we can come up with a thing
Okay.
that makes it meaningful and, like, I guess refreshing each and every time, so it can have like value to replay multiple times.
Well, then we should probably start on our ideas, because that's where we've got and what we've worked up to so far, and then we can go from there to develop that.
Yeah, because I guess it's contextual as to how you can make a thing meaningful, like
Based on the parameters of the world that we develop.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like what the idea of the actual thing is. Because if you're making something that's narrative heavy, it could just be a case of spreading the narrative between people, but then making sure you spread plots between people.
I mean, I do have a idea for
Sure.
making it a bit more meaningful than. I mean, do we want to first of all, because it like builds on Andy's idea, so should we bring up Andy's discussion so I can say my idea?
If you want.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Would you guys
That's
like to
in here.
be the ones to like introduce it?
What
So
the
was Andy's thing, because I was in the picture.
the pictures? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
So-
he used that as
yeah.
an example, didn't he?
Yeah, because that's what he was working.
That's what he's working on, yeah.
He's working on the idea of how, when in real life, with a physical photograph, like one you put in a frame, it's weathered. Like the more people look at it, the more like it changes as a physical product, and that doesn't apply to digital stuff unless you're saving a JPEG over and over again that keeps compressing it. Like you will see the same thing every single time. It doesn't change. So Andy's working on the idea of it changing in relation to, like, in response to how it's been interacted with as a thing. But yeah, I think that's all the premise that like sets up like where Bernie's coming from here.
So, first of all, I just want to like say that the idea was, I think, really interesting. The fact that over time, something you've attempted to give over to someone else would slowly fade away, which would make your, I guess, what you do a bit more. The person that gives on the experience or whatever it is they're passing on. I feel like it makes it more meaningful with the fact that they know they are working for someone that will come very close to them, to their actions, their last ones, I mean. Because when I think about, like, legacy, I think someone's about to benefit from this.
You don't think long term?
Yeah, no, I think this is quickly going to be passed on to this person who it's going to, and after that they'll choose, and I trust this person to pick the right people. But after that, there is no longer the idea past like two people, the person you pass it to and the person that person will choose to pass it to. That fourth person is like not even within your, like, you can't think about them whatsoever.
Because it can change so much before it gets to them, do you think?
Yeah, and I'm just thinking it might make it more meaningful to have a deteriorating, like, legacy, so that, just like the image, just so you know, so it feels more like it's going to make an impact. You can actually understand the, like, where the impact is going to happen. If you're not sure why you're doing it or how important it is, you might not be sure how to go about it. But if you know the exact value, you know how much effort to put into it and how much to not, because you don't know how far
Because I guess
it's going to go.
Because this is like, I guess not the opposite, but a different way that to which like Andy was approaching it, I guess. Because he was going with the whole adds
Adds value.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whereas you're going with the deterioration of the original.
I think
kind of thing.
it's based on contextual point of view.
Yeah.
Because I think some scenarios set out to allow it to
improve based on the more interaction. So the more players that act, or the more users, or the more people that touch something, the more it adds to the content rather than taking away. So perhaps that's the point of view. I mean, I would say possibly adding to something is a more positive experience, especially for a game. But there potentially could be some sort of mix of both.
Yeah.
Sure, but I was just thinking, though that's... Yeah, I think you're right, overall, so that it impacts every single person that touches the world. Yeah. But, yeah, no, I was just considering the people trying to impact something, if they... Like, it just feels strange, I would think, if they were to start not knowing how much of an impact they have, and that sort of lets them have their own objective. Each person that plays has an objective they know. I mean, you can still... I don't know. I guess that's still the case, even if you don't make, like, I don't know, some sort of clue deteriorate. But I don't know. I just feel like... Yeah, you're probably right, actually. I don't know.
I think there's definitely room for both, and I think it could be interesting to play around with that and see how it works. As, yeah, some sort of just way of how you... I guess it's contextual point of view in that sense, of like whether things get better or worse.
But yeah.
Well, Ella, do you want to discuss your ideas?
Not really.
Shall I go first?
Or
do you want to...
I don't mind either way.
Maybe you should go first, since you look like you're falling asleep.
I'm not falling asleep, just not sure how to contribute is my problem.
Well, don't contribute if you can't.
You're contributing just by being here and presenting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, just things that you're thinking about. I mean, I know you've had some valuable points. Don't take our things about Dark Souls as a negative thing. It's not that. It's not a negative thing.
I feel like I should explain that. I had an idea of a potential game idea, which involved things that when I told Dean and George earlier, they just told me that's Dark Souls, and not having played Dark Souls, that made me feel a bit
this is
annoyed.
How we portrayed the dicks.
That's kind of how this is going to be.
I mean, that's fine.
It was a coincidence anyway.
Yeah.
It was a bad coincidence.
No, it's good because I like
good.
that part of Dark Souls.
It's genuinely a really good part.
Yeah.
I think it's really valuable and you should discuss it. Because I really like it.
Well, it was basically just the idea that player wakes up. I thought it would be interesting, like, to have this whole you are the chosen one kind of thing goal that's set out to that you have to set out and go do, because I know that's like a typical thing that is in a lot of games. I thought it would be interesting to throw that on its head by then finding out as you play through that all these other people have also been trying to do the same task that you're trying to accomplish. And you're not special because there's all these other people who have done it too, or tried to, and you see their dead bodies along the way. This is a nice, happy one. You can tell the upward spiral's coming.
I'm sure
Realization is happy, right?
Is it? I mean, sort of. I guess the idea from there was then also that when you die, your body is left behind, and then next, when you respawn, you're a different character, and then you can see your old dead body as a different... Like, you recognise it as a different person, and that's how you realise that, oh, yes, okay, there are lots of chosen ones, and each time I've woken up and been told I'm the chosen one, I'm a different human being who has then died, and that's the proof that they're not the chosen
as a concept, though, it's still really strong.
But it's...
No, it's cool.
But yeah, no, that was one of the ideas I had. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of that kind of fits in potentially with some of the stuff I'm looking at as well. So there could be a nice mishmash there.
Sure.
That works.
Did you want to segue or did you want to stick?
I'm happy for Ella to keep going and we can come back to it if you've got some other stuff.
No, the only other idea I had was really... I'm really not a fan of it purely because I hate the idea of damn ghosts. I think they're really boring, and haunted houses sound like the most dull thing in terms of they're so no, hang on, I haven't got there yet.
Hold your horses, cowboy.
They're like the most basic thing, but I was just going along the lines of the thought process of, leaving things behind, and I was thinking about ghosts basically being an essence of a person left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking about how it would be interesting to have an environment which, in my mind, went to haunted house because ghosts. An environment where you could explore, and you'd see the left behind essence of other people. So you'd see like ghost versions of other people who had walked through the environment and interacted with the environment. But then I was also thinking, going back to the sad idea, because fuck's sake, I have to make everything sad. I was thinking, just witnessing all these people and then seeing them as they die through various reasons in this house. I guess it would be like a haunted house horror dumb game experience, and I really hated the idea. But
it doesn't sound.
If you hate the idea, then a lot of it can be taken out of the
this
horror
is the thing.
and
I
put something
didn't.
else.
This wasn't something I wanted to explain to you guys because I knew I didn't like the idea. But it was just the whole.
But you like some of the ideas, because otherwise you wouldn't have come up with it. So.
No, I don't.
You
It's
hate
because I needed ideas, and this was the only thing my brain thought of.
When you say about like traces of where people have been, I think like footsteps. Like if you could see literally trails of where people have been or something,
Yeah.
Or
things
sounds
like
and
that behind.
bits
That'd be
and
really
pieces.
interesting.
I think that is really nice. I really like the idea about people that come before. I mean, partially because it very much links to mine. But no, but I know it's a bit of a jam. But no, like don't discount things just because you don't like parts of it. Because there is still a lot of potential in them to make something really cool.
I like that what you said about like the footsteps was like a simple one, but I did like the idea that I don't know how you'd work it out. Maybe you'd say people have spent a lot of time here. That means I get to watch them for a bit, see how they did it, because this particular spot is one of like activity that's like a lot of activity, I guess, frequent anyway.
Okay.
So that would be really interesting. I mean, it wouldn't be a ghost idea, but like the idea does work. Like it's been proven in like Dark Souls, where you get to watch how people die, and it's been proven in Gary's mod in Murder, where as the murderer you can see where people have been by looking at the floor to see where the footsteps. So yeah, that sounds really interesting to learn through having watched what people have been most interested in applying their, I guess, interest in.
When you said about where people have been as well, it just reminded me, it's probably very like loosely related. It's also going to sound dumb, but in Rainbow Six Siege there is a character, because they all have different skills and stuff. He's called Jackal. His thing is he gets a visor, and you can see the footprints of players on the other team, and if you lock onto one, it will like you can see where they've been around the map, so you can go, oh, they've reinforced doors this way, which means they're probably going in that direction, because I can see their footsteps going in that direction. But you like if you hone in on one of them, you get to hone in on like I think maybe 2 or 3. It goes bang, they're here right now, and it stays like that for a few seconds, and then goes bang, they're here. But that's like focusing in on knowing a person has been here, and then from there figuring out where they go. But it does it like automatically, which is less
anticipating their trajectory.
Well, because you can anticipate it just by looking at where the footprints are going.
Yeah,
they're probably in this room. Yeah,
You have to apply some common sense.
yeah, and there's a lot of like map knowledge as well. Of
Yeah.
they took out this thing, which means that they're trying to protect themselves from this direction, which means they're probably in that direction or in that specific room there, or they could have run upstairs to reinforce the ceiling.
It's the sort of thing that pro players would do anyway.
Yeah.
Just hyper accelerated.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just an interesting mechanic, I guess.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking the same thing you were thinking about, like, but I was thinking, can't people just communicate that information? I mean, obviously in this case it's passing on, which means there's no one else there but you. But I'm just wondering, because Siege is just maybe a tangent, but I'm just wondering why Siege would have that when players can just describe to each other.
Oh, so you can see where the enemy team have been. So there are some characters that place traps around. So if you see, like, because you can see different coloured footprints depending on, like, different players. Like, you might not know who the operators are, but you can see this same person has been to here, here, and here. They're probably placing traps around the place. We need to be aware that there could be traps in these areas. Or someone's going to try flanking us because they're running away from where we know the objective is. So we need to keep our eye out, like, to this direction so we don't get shot in the head from behind or whatever. But yeah, you know,
But
Siege is a tangent.
You say we, but you said there was only one character.
Yeah, you're talking with your team the whole time.
Oh, okay.
You know, like,
There's a lot of strategy involved.
Yeah.
It's very much less like just shoot, more like
it's a tactical
actually
shoot.
plan.
You
Yeah.
die in like one hit usually.
Yeah.
So
It's danger,
Yeah, there you
especially
go.
when your teammate shoots you in the back of the
yeah,
head.
it's true.
That proves your idea is interesting.
Not really.
Well, it got changed a bit, and now there's no ghosts.
Well, because you don't like the ghosts, but the idea of things being left behind and seeing like where people have been is interesting. So
Yeah,
That's
I agree.
basically the general idea of this whole thing.
Yeah, but
Well,
That's not mine.
I mean, it's just a statement we need to adhere to. I mean, you've allowed it to actually have something that allows it to work.
Anyway, George, you
Okay.
had some ideas.
I do. Well, I wrote down some notes about things I wanted to answer and things that I thought were interesting. So, I wanted the idea about how players can help to achieve some sort of common goal. Because I think this is really important, especially when we're working around the idea of working together or passing the baton,
Yeah.
or working towards something, but there needs to be a common element in that. I didn't want to make it any directly multiplayer. I didn't want people to be in the same session with each other.
So definitely asynchronous.
I think that it would be more meaningful for the theme we're going for.
Yep.
I've played around with the idea of single life players, so players only get one life per thing, per experience, and then they move on to something else, and something else. And the players in that experience can leave things behind. So I wrote a rough abstract with that in mind, along with several other notes, but that's less important. So in this very rough idea of a game, the objective would be to connect and find companions by adventuring to a large landmark that is said to somehow bring people together. That's all that your player is given. Within the game there are two types of players. There's the Forerunners and the Successors. So the Forerunners are the players that first instantiate the world. They're the players that open the world in which nobody has ever been in before. Successors are the people that basically inherit it after they're gone. So the idea is that basically the world would start very dark or cold, and there's basically no clues about how to get to your said destination, because basically the players have to adventure out, finding their own way, leave behind warnings or suggestions along the way about how they might get to said area. Exact method I said to be decided, because this is something that I thought would be best discussed as a group and decided on. So I worked on the idea that each player has one life that must be protected or sustained. So I don't know exactly how that would work, whether people have to like sustain their lifespan or whatever, but I thought that could be an interesting thing to work with. So Forerunner players come to the understanding that one life is not actually enough to complete the game, and upon death will drop their something like a spirit. So this contains character information such as name and appearance. That player then has the opportunity to pass to another world via a seed or simply random assignment. Successors have the opportunity to pick up other players like spirits, allowing them to have a deeper connection with that player. So they may be able to see potential dangers they've previously encountered. They may be able to appear to the player somehow. I mean, I don't want to use the word ghost, but you know, that kind of idea. It's a bit of a taboo, but
We will love ghosts.
the idea is that maybe over time the spirit becomes kind of diluted, and as players proceed to pick up them, and then they die, and then pick them up, die. It kind of spreads this almost like network of players that kind of help out said person by pointing out things or averaging like a direction that they should go in. So yeah, helping them reach the final destination. So upon arrival and completion of the game, they'll be able to release all the picked up spirits, revealing all the previous players, their names and what they look like. So
It doesn't sound like you've realised it, but the thing you said right at the beginning about the players having the objective of finding this or getting to a landmark which brings people together, they never end up being together ever at any point. So everything you said afterwards was just getting to that point, a singular person finding the place that's meant to have people be all together, and that's the end of the game, and there was no one.
Well, because it shows everyone who came before.
Yeah, I know.
The point isn't to meet new players; it's to meet everybody that's been there before you.
Yeah. Got it.
So it's a bit of a lie.
Yeah, it's
in that sense.
Well, it's not a lie. It's just interpreted better to realize that you've never been alone that whole time you were trying to do that thing.
The point is that you experience this, and the point is you realise you were never alone because you've been helped all the way along by other people that have come before you, aiding you and helping you and achieving the common goal that you were destined to achieve in some world or another.
Sure,
and then
that sounds good.
Realise all the other players that have helped you along the way.
Right, you just didn't mention this, so it made me think you didn't.
No, that's why I say it's rough and bad.
But because it makes me think of when I get credits of Journey, and it showed like what I think I took a photo of it. In fact, I might have a photo on my phone. But I saw like I played with I think 8 people or something, and because it shows the people that were online when you play with them because you don't.
I didn't know that.
It's
really.
It's the thing?
Spoilers. No, yeah, that's the thing.
I haven't finished Journey, so...
Oh, man. So, every character you see in Journey is another player.
Okay.
And you hit the end credits, and it shows the, like, gamer tags of those players.
Yeah. And
you're like... these are all different people? Like, I thought I was connecting with the same person multiple times. Yeah. I knew I saw a couple of people because they're different scarf lengths and stuff and they're different icons. But I was like, oh man, that was that many people, Jesus.
Was there that many people within the same world, or did they despawn certain players?
Well, it despawns and these are instances. They enter different instances when you get to certain key areas, I think.
I see.
And it will bring in people who got to it at the same time. So, and if they go out of range, then it'll spawn them out and put them into
Wouldn't that be obvious? I mean, you described at one point how people would run away from you. Surely once you got past the threshold that would reset the player you're playing with, I mean, they would be right there even though they ran away from you.
I knew there were multiple people, I just didn't know how many. I thought I was... Because some of them acted similarly, or had similar scarf lengths, and I was like, is this the same person?
I've played Journey through 3 times, and not one of those times have I seen another person.
You must have played offline. No, you must have not have had PS Plus. I think you need PlayStation Plus to do it.
No idea.
Yeah.
But okay.
No, you have to pay for that.
Yeah. I never knew this was I wouldn't.
That sounds like a really crucial feature.
That's really sad.
It's such a crucial feature to the
I
game.
feel like I've missed out.
Yeah.
How?
Because this is player interaction is one of the things. Because it's you're going across this desert, which is you don't expect people, and then suddenly there's a person who comes over the horizon, and you're together, and you're going sliding down the slopes at the same time. Yeah. They might get caught by an enemy and you're like, no! You run up into the distance. It's a really cool part. It's really annoying that it's tied behind a paywall. But,
I need to play it.
Are you saying that Journey's about multiplayer, the interaction?
Not completely, but that's a core part of it.
It is?
Yeah, because you have a communication button. You have a button with the only purpose is to go, like that. And that's literally what it
little
does.
singing note.
I thought that was... But doesn't that interact with the environment, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, it activates things, but it creates a symbol above your head as well, and every player has a different symbol when they do it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, and a different note as well. They
it doesn't
do a different
communicate.
key.
Jesus.
It doesn't communicate anything, it's just a symbol.
No, but you can go up to each other and start going dancing around like that, and then you go over here and you go doom, come this way. You find a way to communicate using the limited means that you've got.
There's something really cool about it. I think that will bring us more towards next week's theme of communication.
Yes.
So we'll probably try and stay on track because that is really cool, and I definitely want to chat about that. But maybe that's something for next week. But
sorry for the spoilers.
I can't believe you. I'm gonna have to go home and play it while I'm crying now. No.
Apologise to Richard as well.
That's true. He'll
apparently
never be the same again. If you're watching our podcast, Richard.
I'm looking at you right now,
to you.
Richard.
It's catching up on JoJo.
No, okay. Anyway. But yeah, so that was my idea. It ties in quite well with some of the stuff that we have already.
Yeah.
A lot of it is very much open to change. Nothing set in stone. It was a way of like focusing it into a potential game that could actually be playable as a game rather than just an experience. It could be fun. It has a lot of potential for a narrative, because you were saying about the idea about maybe you're told like you're the chosen one or whatever.
Yeah.
This has a lot of potential for something like that. I mean, I wrote down integration of narrative like be a thing. 'Cause obviously this has like a very rough bare bones thing, but
Yeah. Well, because if you see people like NPCs along the way or something who like drip feed you things, or even like find things written on walls or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, it has the potential for NPCs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That it's quite open ended in a lot of regards. A lot of it can be changed, as I say. So
Because if they're telling you, oh yeah, you're like, I'm glad you're able to bring people together because no one's been here in ages, and it's like that's not true. Like, but yeah, I don't know.
or how they change, maybe their scripts change based on how many players have been there beforehand.
Maybe.
As if they're trying to cover it up.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, because you could have like when the world is literally right at the beginning and it's cold, dark, there's no fires. Like, I imagine it's really grey. Like, we use like color palettes to like determine how the game looks, and then the more players that are in, the more fires are lit, or the time of day changes and it grows brighter and lighter, and they can't hide it anymore, and so they start to get like desperate. And I don't know, it could be interesting.
Because there are cool things that we didn't mention when we were talking about Dark Souls last week, where there are because there are little cool things of like synchronous things that happen in the world when other players do them. So there are the Bells of Awakening early on in the game, and their key point is you ring them to like progress the story, and if another player rings the bell, you can hear it going in your game. Like, you can hear a distant bell ringing. You're like, what's that? Is that the Bell of Awakening? And you go there and you ring it, and then other people can hear you ringing it as well. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, like I had another thing I was thinking of, but yeah, that's I guess the main one. But yeah, I think that's cool.
Huh.
So, yeah.
I don't think we could have that though.
No.
Just because.
No, well, it's
No.
not. It's like our experience is something different. That's something to bear in mind. Our experience
So
is.
who wants to make another Dark Souls?
Yeah, we're not making Dark Souls. We're not making online multiplayer. Like,
Synchronous multiplayer,
yeah.
because that's servers, and servers are not only money but also.
So I was thinking about monsters and combat moves.
Okay, of course.
Okay. I had something to say before I decided the joke was more important.
My life.
You made it. You made the good choice.
It was about your idea.
You know what?
It's not this, but I have a question. You said that over time the world would become less grey, and there'll be fires and stuff that would be not able to be. What did you mean? The players would become. The question is, what did you mean? The players could become desperate.
Well, like the NPCs, for example. Like, this is just like a devil's advocate talking point. But like, if there were NPCs, for example, and they were trying to cover the fact that maybe you're the only player because they want you to like venture towards something that's dangerous, then they're trying to cover up the fact that there are other players.
And the other players have died.
Yeah, and there are other players that are dead, and they're trying to help you, and so you become aware of them, and they become desperate and trying to hide it. Like, that's just a potential for some small narrative
Because you're
element.
supposed to be the only chosen one.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe you find traces of them, as you say, like bodies, or you die, and you're like, what the fuck?
I like that response to dying.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's me when I like fall off the fucking tower in like anything ever.
When I'm next to the lift, and I back out of the menus and then backstep.
Yeah, goodbye,
Yeah, I'm
sweet
off.
prince.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got a few talking points about it that I thought might be interesting, so to generate some conversation or questions that could be answered. So obviously I start off with like, are there NPC characters? How would we potentially develop some sort of narrative or integrate a narrative into this that feels fluid? So that's kind of the first point. The second point is what sort of style should the environment be? So should we design it as more like pre-designed interconnecting worlds that players do get lost in, almost like labyrinth sort of style? Or are they different? Is it more like open
Procedural,
world? Yeah, or is it procedural? Like, I don't know, like, what do we think?
I think if you are going to do procedural, you do procedural chunks, so you can have pre-designed areas or something and then shove them together in a procedural manner. So, like how roguelikes work, where you have a bunch of rooms designed and they just chuck the rooms together and sew them together. But yeah,
I mean, honestly, I'm always more of a fan of pre-designed.
Yeah, of course.
Because I think it's better, and I think it gives us a lot more freedom, especially with an art style.
It also feels more like you're passing that on.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Like, because otherwise there's this sort of feeling of this is actually now just a new world that someone's got entirely.
Yeah, because I think me and Bernie were talking the other day about how maybe like if it's too far apart, the experiences it ceases to become like you're passing anything on. It just feels completely different.
Yeah.
So okay.
No, I'm just still thinking about your evil NPC idea. I was just thinking, what if there were... I mean, obviously the player's aware they're trying to pass something on to another player, because that's the point. And you want to, like, work off of them. I was just wondering, what if we made it so that instead of evil NPCs, the NPCs were something that were, I guess similar to how mermaids try to, I guess, convince you to go with them so they can, like, kill you later, like they're an alluring thing. I was just wondering, what if it was meant to be pleasant with the NPCs, but because you're aware there are real players, I wonder what the player would do once because like they'll have to decide to leave that place at some point to progress with the rest of the real life people. I just wonder what they would choose, if they would choose a fantasy that's not real, or if they choose to help.
Are you saying the NPCs could be like...
Not mermaids.
No, I was going to say like...
They should be.
Oh no, that's spoilers.
For what?
Okay.
Was it?
Doki Doki.
Oh, Literature Club. Should I just plug my ears?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Everybody plugs their ears. It's just Ella talking to us.
No, the whole idea
Come up with
of
a different idea.
Okay, fine.
It doesn't matter.
No,
You can just say.
I don't
just
mean a
say
different idea. I
Doesn't
need to
matter.
figure out a
We'll be
different way
okay.
to say it.
No, because
It's
the only
important.
way I
For the
can
greater
say
good.
it
Yeah.
now that I've said it
No, for the greater good.
is... I'm sorry.
Do it.
I just shouldn't have said
Do
anything.
it.
No, the whole idea that they're sort of aware that they are NPCs kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
In a sense of they are aware that other people have actually passed through, like, real people who have played the game, and they're aware that they're NPCs, but they
so
don't
they're
want you
stuck
to
in
leave.
the place.
Yeah, they don't want you to leave.
That could be a really interesting
yeah.
thing, actually. Genuinely.
Like they're like trying to start the conversation really badly, and they're like, so and then you just move away. You're like, no, come back!
Oh my god! It gets really. You could get really dark though.
Yeah,
It's getting
you
really
Like, my
sad.
legs haven't been working for centuries. Please come back.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that does sound really interesting. And that still works. So
Yeah.
with what I said, it could be used in that way. But yeah, it would be cool if over time these NPCs maybe were aware of how many times people had diverted their attention and mingled with them, so that they'd be like, hey, we had the player pass through here on this time. It would just be cool to have references to the people that have already affected you at that moment up until then.
Maybe they can acknowledge the fact that other people have passed through, but they're
Yeah.
like, but they weren't the chosen.
Yeah.
They weren't special
Yeah.
like
Not
you.
like you, yeah. And suddenly the more players, they just get really tired. They're like, they weren't special. Like, like putting script in.
Oh my god, it's the chosen one.
But, there he is.
pulls out like little bugle.
I forgot why this is why this would add to the experience.
It would be great. So.
Oh, there was a reason. I'm pretty sure there was a reason, but why are we saying
What,
this?
the
It's
choice-
This
feeling
is why we
ridiculous.
podcast stuff, so we can listen back when we get completely forget.
I guess it's because it's so you think you're the one and only,
Yeah.
and then you realise that you're actually contributing.
From the beginning of the game, that's not the case, though.
Do you?
Yeah, because because of your idea, the thing you're working on.
I mean, we can play on the cliche, the cliche about how
Yeah,
so many
that's
games are like, you're the chosen one,
That's
you're the
what I was-
important
Yeah,
one.
that
Yeah.
was kind of the point. But
It works really well, because I
Sounds like you're
fucking
making
hate
fun.
that cliche. I really
know.
like that. So,
I
there's
mean-
like literally, if all my games were designed around the player being the least important thing in the game.
I guess because if different players have different inhibitions which stop them from being good in certain ways.
Yeah.
Imagine if someone moves slightly slower or something like that, or struggles to open doors or something. You have to press it twice and it flies open. I don't know.
It's
But
D&D.
imagine, because then they're you're the chosen one, and you're I can see that my leg's busted. I'm quite awkward, dragging myself through these.
I'm not
corridors.
gonna make it.
I'm half a bit of health.
They're like, no, you'll be fine.
You can see the red jam forming around.
Yeah.
you.
Just get a good night's sleep.
So, alright. So these NPCs will, I guess, be just like you. They want a community, so they'll be trying to lure you and recruit you to
Maybe-
live with them.
But maybe they don't want to die, so maybe
Yeah, 'cause they might know
they-
it's dangerous.
They don't want to go any further. Maybe we play on the fact that maybe they're players, but
I see. So
not.
you reckon the world should have dangers, but you and every other real player is helping each other to get through, but these people have given up, so they've settled off to the side and made a community.
It could
That'd be
work.
really interesting, because it would be nice to feel like you are having interactions. If we make them meaningful enough for even the player, you can give them an actual struggle, and
Yeah,
it's
and
not
personalities
this
and
is...
stories as well.
Yeah.
It's about why they've given up or what they're doing. I mean,
Oh, that'd be interesting. That'd be such a good commentary on loneliness instead of interpreting your idea.
because I mean,
just an old man at the side going, I used to be the chosen one, and everyone else is like, no, you're insane,
he's not that one.
Oh, Jim and your dementia.
I know. I think there's genuine little potential there, especially because we can build. We have the potential of building smaller narratives within a bigger one as well. About little stories about actually encompassing and encapsulating loneliness. Little stories that actually have outcomes and stuff. Maybe you meet characters later on or whatever. I mean, obviously, making sure it doesn't turn into Dark Souls is important. That's important, but
What?
there is a lot of potential there for building a really cool story that is still based on our original thing, with a narrative that is strong and works with a game that's interesting.
I like this. What is happening here? By the way,
Cool.
this is a stupid thought. I'm just wondering what if the player didn't die, but because they've expired eventually, maybe eventually you are not capable of doing everything you can do or were able to do when at the beginning of your play session. So maybe because you can't go any further, or you'll just die because you can no longer help. You can
So
you go back to the community.
you become an NPC.
Yeah,
I just thought, what
that's a bad idea, by the way. I just found it interesting to point out
I
if it was
have,
a thing.
because weird. Here's a weird one. If when you die, for other players, when they spawn in, your body is crawling back, retracing its steps, so that by the time they get to you, you won't be at the point at which you died, but they'll have to go, where did they come from, or something like that.
Say that again. I forgot to listen. I was still thinking.
If when you die, when you pass your game to the next person or whatever, as soon as they start, your where you died, your body starts crawling back and retracing its steps. It might stop along the way and properly die or something like that. Or by the time you get to it, it might be like what? But
Except it wouldn't be yours; it'd be somebody else's.
yeah. It would be another player's one, and you'll be like, "What's up ahead that they've just crawled back from?" or something like that.
Oh, that'd be if the game was partially multiplayer, and you're able to find them on their last moments of death, then then the first few players could eventually catch up to the progress of the first few players to watch them die.
Because it could just be a case of like when you die, you put in a message, and the next person who comes in
can
gets
see
you,
it.
and you're like,
Yeah.
try butthole.
Please, not the cheeseburger.
Leading to dying words.
Yeah.
Amazing chest ahead.
That would possibly be a very interesting thing to, if each and every time you caught up to the last person who died, they had like 5 seconds to leave behind something, so you can watch the. Obviously, it's a recorded message.
Well, you only have like.
So you get to
5
watch
seconds.
them die. No, I'm in real life words.
Yes, okay.
Because they are still alive, but are about to die 5 seconds once you
God damn.
go up to them. So,
Because most of them will just be someone going, oh wait, and then
Wait, I need to.
oh, that would be even better. I thought it would be like a time for like this is the end of your session.
someone's body, and they're just like, oh shit.
You get to somebody's behind, they're like, Mom, it's only 7.
Wait, I can't pause it.
This is our poor podcast. Is very
That works.
audio.
Still. I mean, it doesn't.
Screaming.
I mean, that's giving the player enough freedom, too much freedom, maybe, which doesn't like help with the feeling of the game.
I think-
but it does work. I think.
I think it feels more like it's a real person.
Yeah.
There is something
I
about
like
that.
that.
There is something that's the only real interaction you're going to have with that person. I think it needs to feel like it is as real as possible.
I really
So
like the idea that
almost
they can
like
pass
the
a
idea
message
of
on,
it.
like when they go.
Yeah.
It's really good.
But I think all I was saying was specifically the audio message feels more personal.
It feels a little bit invasive, and we don't want like. 'Cause
Oh, okay.
no, like there is something about that, and maybe it could work, but it's making sure it's done in a way that doesn't feel invasive. That was my point. It was not saying.
How do you mean invasive?
Because like if you die and you've never played the game before, and then suddenly it's saying audio recording to somebody random in the world, you're like, fuck!
Maybe it
that's
can
fine. I think
ask
that's so
if you
cool.
want to record.
Yeah.
Well, next time you'll
Or a
know. I
text.
think that's
You
a
can't
good
just
thing.
type on it.
Yeah, I think if it asks you, then
Imagine-
that becomes
Yeah.
less
You could
If
spend
you
the whole
type it, it does like
Literally,
text to
like, dying
speech,
message.
and it's just like, lol.
But because of that, at least it'll never happen. You'll never be able to think about it the first time, but the second time, and from then on, you're 100% of your play of the entirety of the time you're like playing. You'll be thinking, "What am I gonna say?" Which is playing what like it's almost as if it's a constant theme in the player's mind to leave behind the legacy of their 5 seconds of thought.
Yeah, there's something really cool in that idea. I think the audio does work, as I said, to make sure it isn't invasive.
And you
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
like know that it's coming. I guess because like you have to have a microphone plugged in as well. That's another thing.
Or the
Yeah.
or the option just to leave a text or something.
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah, that's what.
Sure,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you'll either get. I was kind of thinking it was a cool thing for this message to be sudden, only because it's death. You don't really get timing for that, which means it's
But it's-
That
record.
was
Also
another thing
death
I
in a
wondered,
video
but
game.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, video game.
Sure. In that case, they can choose to like have the same as a because it's 5 seconds of audio. If it's a typed up message, maybe it can be the same as Twitter, where there's a limited amount of characters.
Yeah.
you can
Yeah,
choose.
Yeah,
that could work.
for sure.
Or do the Souls thing of a pool of characters that you can choose from, or something.
Yeah.
Well, a pool of words you can choose from.
It's possible. I mean, that's like a finite detail that can be decided along later on exactly how we want to do it. But the fact is, if we think that it would be a good idea to have it so that players can communicate on death, like something they can say, like there's a big pit ahead and you will fall in it if you
Yeah.
go up there, then like that's a
Save
really
yourself.
What if they can choose from a pool of images of just like so they can have a bunch of
Clip
vague clip art. I mean like vague concepts, so they can like you choose a 5 from a series of like a bunch and like I don't know.
Oh, you
so-
could choose like a threat level. No, so you have like how many, like if it's like I don't know, let's say we have like creatures in our game. There's like a super dangerous one. You're like, it's a 5-star. You're gonna die. Or it's like it's
be
a
cool.
1-star. You might trip over the
Maybe.
bucket and break your neck. Like, who knows?
cracking floor.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Yeah, it's a bit of a route.
Sure. Maybe not so specific because the communication isn't there. Maybe just like a thread, not a thread, like a piece of fabric you just staple to a tree, and then there you go.
Staple.
Staple some bread to a tree.
Bring your handy staple gun.
Tie it to a tree or whatever. Do something that suggests something's there, because you don't have the words to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be the same as what's the game? Gary's mod again, and like I guess the same. I mean, Gary's mod and Fortnite do it with like the spray or like the tag you leave on the walls. It would be cool if you had your own that you could place in places, but a limited amount.
And yeah, and have to be like a limited set as well, so that I'm not like spraying my SpongeBob meme over someone's PewDiePie image. I got a screenshot and it synced up perfectly, but
Okay.
Well, sorry.
Well, in that case, maybe it shouldn't be such a personalized thing. Maybe we should be the ones that control what is able to be left on a thing. And if people want to double down on a threat thing and they want to waste one of their whatever tags on someone's already tag on thing, don't know what to call it, you could maybe just have like a chalk outline where the background, so you can like overlay loads of images and you can still count how many people have done it.
Yeah, okay, that could work.
Yeah, because if there's multiple in one area, it's probably going to be an issue.
Because if someone as well, if someone puts one image down and then someone puts an image that looks like they're making a sequence or something to describe what's up ahead, if you can only put one down in a certain place.
I'm a bit worried about this idea and the environment when you apply it to it. Because, I mean, an idea an environment we constantly talk about, even though it's not set, is like a giant forest. And
I mean, we could do anything. We could do anything with this.
I'm just saying, if it is a forest, it will be it depending, because of the way you interact within a forest is not clear, because there's not paths you can take. It's just going through it. Maybe if it's difficult to traverse, maybe there should be a proximity for how many times you can spray the same spray in the same area that doesn't use up like one spray if you have a limited amount of them. Maybe just have an unlimited amount, to be honest.
I have a problem with forests though, in that they're so repetitive. Like, it doesn't feel like a design environment. Like, even if a forest is a design environment, like Slender or whatever, like, it feels just like, here are a bunch of trees in an area. Like, even the Lost Woods in like Zelda games, it often feels like a bunch of trees in an area and that's it. So I don't know about forests.
I like that.
I think it could be a part of it, but I think we could build something that isn't just forest. I think we could have like different sections of lots of different things.
I don't want to be against forests though. I don't mind thinking about them, because I think I disagree.
As long as it isn't, because for me, as long as it isn't just here's a forest. Because forests are aimless by definition, because they're natural, like completely.
I think there's part of it, but not the entire thing. I think there should be like landmarks that people can go to, because it's a lot of this is about adventure as well.
There also needs to be a significant amount of variation, I think, considering that there's going to be a few people going into this world, a few people exploring this world. That implies that it's going to be quite a large scale place that all of these people can still explore without necessarily seeing the same thing that
No, I agree. I think it should be very winding. It should be very labyrinthian, so that like you can go in one way and get completely lost and find somewhere that no other players will reach, because it's not like open world.
Have you guys seen Firewatch?
I haven't played it. I intend on playing it.
Seen
Which
it?
game?
Firewatch.
No, I haven't played it.
I've seen clips of it.
I mean, I watched the game.
The gameplay? Okay. No,
in that case, never mind. I was going to ask how that felt, because it's been way too long since I've seen it, but that's like completely a natural area, and I was just wondering how that would work. I can quickly look it up, but yeah, you guys can keep talking. I'm going to quickly look up Firewatch, see how that played out, and if I find a thing that works, I'll just show it to you guys.
Sure. Well, because my thing with forests is, apart from them being repetitive and stuff, is that it's like an aimless area. Like, what the hell was that?
Good song.
Sure.
I don't think it is.
That made me just remind me of a Fallout song.
That's coming later, dude.
Yes. But yeah, like, they're by definition they're like a thing you get lost in. Like, because of how random they are.
In that case,
so-
we could have a foresty community, like cabins and like the people we were talking about, like off to the side.
That could definitely be part of it.
It's true. Just
That way, there could be like golden
As I say,
paths.
I agree very much with Ella. I think there should be a lot of variety. I
Yeah.
think there should be a lot of different bits and pieces. I mean, if we're thinking logistically, we have enough power, like firepower in regards of the team to be able to do that, because we've got enough artists to be able to develop a lot of range, as long as we plan it properly.
yeah.
So,
And when you're trying to guide people through an environment, it's important to have like differentiation and landmark. Like, I'll bring up tangentially again. I'll bring up Rainbow Six Siege, in that all of its maps feel very similar because they're all buildings that are like, most of them at least are extremely similar, and a lot of the rooms look similar. And it's hard to describe what a room is because they all look very similar. So you can't really guide people through it, because you're like, oh, go to this room, then turn left, instead of go to this room, go to that thing, do this. Like, it's hard to build up an understanding of the environment that you can move through.
I see.
You need landmarks, that's the thing.
I mean, I don't think you do need landmarks, to be honest. I don't even think you... I mean, there's ways of suggesting to the player, especially in games... I say especially, it's the player, it's games. There's ways that developers suggest where you're meant to go
Weenies
through...
and things like that.
Sorry? Weenies?
Weenies.
What's that?
So it was. I think it was come up by like Walt Disney for Disney World. The idea of you can always see there's a point of reference that I can move around. In Disney World, it's like there's the tower or something. There's one of the other rides. Like you can always see it wherever you are, so you have a fixed point of reference to know a direction in which you're moving. Because they also have like, you know, color-coded things and camera suggestions, stuff like that. Like, Uncharted has yellow... No, I think it's white thing. Is it? No, it is yellow. Uncharted and The Last of Us both have yellow things. Mirror's Edge has red things. Tomb Raider has white things. But all of that is very, like... I guess it's aggressively suggesting where to go. Like, in The Last of Us, I know exactly where I'm going to go, because I just go, that... Like, there's a yellow bit hanging from there. There's a yellow... bit painted at the top there. It feels a little bit artificial.
Past the subconscious level to a very apparent level.
Yeah,
I mean, it can be... Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, with stuff like that, the way it's literally suggesting which way you need to go, I'd almost prefer it would slow you down a bit more than that. Like, you would have to figure out how to know where to go.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like if there was a little puzzle that allowed you to figure out that that's how you opened this door or something, even if it was just something small like that, I'd rather have that to slow down the pacing so that, you know, people aren't just rushing through all this space super quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you also don't want a single player to know exactly where to go.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, you've got the
they're
thing
just
is...
going to be walking straight through the thing and getting straight to the place where you need to be in the end. And then it's like, oh wow, the second player to get the seed has already got to the end.
Actually, the chosen one. You're the first one.
You're the first one. You're like, sorry, I'm perfect.
The chosen one.
Yes, I was. No, there's... what was it? I just had a really interesting point and I completely forgot.
Sure.
Damn jokes.
Were you going to say more as well, Bernie?
Yeah.
Go.
Okay.
Well, I had two things. Carrying on from the suggested way / not suggested way, I was just thinking maybe it would be cool to re-establish how you could maybe see characters' footprints that they have already been, by having a golden path over time, or maybe a golden path in general for where the last player was, so you can see where they twirled around for ages, or, you know, the places they decided were the correct way to go, which obviously means that if it wasn't the right way to go, you're lost. But I've got some footage here of Firewatch, and it tells you where to go. Some places are like not clear where to go, which is what Adam had against it. So maybe we should take that into account.
Do you want to ping it on the Discord? Then we can both watch it.
It's like 3 hours of gameplay. I was just going to show like 30 seconds of footage, just so we knew the way that forests could be made in a way which that could possibly be used to show.
Game.
Yeah, looks great.
I'm assuming it's just sped up.
Yeah, it's ×2.
He just walks really fast.
Yeah, there's like these funnily bits which show you where you're
Yeah.
meant to be, and there could be like, I guess there could be areas of denser trees and other areas which let you not get lost by sticking to where there's like openings.
I think because even with natural stuff, think Breath of the Wild. You know, this sort of tree is in this area. There's this color of rock in this.
Yeah, it's things like that that can allow you to, I guess, figure your way out. But
Yeah.
like I say, I think regardless, I think it's good to have foresty areas, but I also do think it's good to have a variety of other things.
In that case,
But then it also depends on the context of the idea, like
and what theme we choose
the
and where we want
narrative,
it.
and
In
there's
that
loads
case-
of things that we need to consider before we actually think about what the environment will be.
I think a key thing to note before that, though, is that if this is kind of like a theme that we want to go with, then good environment design will be key. So making sure we really nail down an environment design, a level design that works really well, that all of us can navigate and all of us feel like, this makes sense to me.
Got white box the hell out.
Yeah,
feel
I
like-
can obviously...
Sorry.
Yeah, no, like white boxing, as you say, really good idea. 2D drawing of the entire thing, making sure it all makes sense, it's all matches up, and that those are going to be really key, I think.
Okay. I was just thinking, the environment. So we're against it being too much of a natural environment, because that might be difficult to, figure out how to move, and it might even be dull at certain points. But I feel like for the idea where you're meant to share how to traverse the environment safely through other people's messages, and it has to be, an unexpected one. So I'm just thinking maybe it should have some element of, it should have these sort of inconspicuous areas that you can't quite understand and have nothing about them, so that those ideas do work, because that's where you place, the reason for players to communicate, or one of the reasons anyway,
I guess,
in that way.
Because the first thing I was thinking of with that idea was a labyrinth, because labyrinths are designed to be dangerous and lost in. But that's just the first thing that my head jumped to. It doesn't mean anything.
And we've got your code from second year that James developed to make labyrinths.
That's not. But my brain automatically went to escape rooms, and then a massive number of escape rooms going from one to the next. Not that that's what I think it should be. That's where my brain automatically went when we were talking about, going through an environment over a long time. But that doesn't mean I think it should be escape rooms. But I think it should be winding, and there's a lot of things just sort of condensed.
And you think a puzzle aspect of having to
I think
solve
there should be a
it.
solvey thing.
I
I think
the
it makes
puzzle
people
aspect.
play slower, and it'd be really cool as well if you can get to a point where other players have unlocked the door of the puzzle before you.
Yeah.
You're
and then
This
they
is gonna be
die
so
somehow.
much
That's
fun.
really sad. It's you
Right
just
at
go,
the door.
oh yeah, great, the door's unlocked.
Steps
Run
over
in,
body.
and then you're dead.
But it'd be really interesting, because if you had that idea of actually unlocking the things, then you've got that progression that people are actually building towards something as well. They're actually helping you out in the long run, which is really cool. I wrote down here. I said things that you should consider are what dangers they face, what puzzles should they overcome. I think this is really key, and I think that's going to be a key part of the environment as well.
Sorry.
No, do continue.
I've not thought about it for that long. I've only thought about it for a minute or two, but it's feeling really, the environment is feeling really, it feels like it's going to be an inaccurate representation of anything, just because things don't work like that. Real life doesn't work like that, which means we could make up a
people
world.
that are dead.
Yeah, but
They don't help you out.
But I don't think so. So it's okay for it to.
There's an element of this that has to be fantastical because
Yeah.
I mean the basis of
Yeah.
it is that you're connecting across via this ethereal link to
Got
people
it.
that are no longer in the game or exist.
That's what I was hoping for. So we are trying to make our own worlds,
Yeah.
not like a thing that we're going to adapt. So our idea like fits in it because the other thing allows us to.
I think we can come up with some more interesting like, aesthetics and stuff.
Yeah.
There are a few worlds that do this.
Weird
I mean, I can
combos.
come up. I mean,
Yeah,
I'll find them.
I think we can find some stuff to base it on, but
Yeah.
that's can be however many levels of
We
detail
don't
that
need
we
to
want.
find it now, you know.
Hmm.
No, we
I
don't
know.
need.
I
Okay.
I mean that very much comes down to like what do we think would work, what do we like.
Yeah.
So open to interpretation, artist's interpretation at least. So yeah. So other key points that I wanted to look at are stuff like how players can die and how hard is the game going to actually be. So that could be stuff like how long do we actually want a player runtime to be on average. So do we want them to be playing for 20 minutes before their experience is ended and they jump into another one?
Depends on the difficulty.
Exactly.
Depends on
This is-
everything.
That's obviously something that we have to bear in mind, though, when we develop, or if we were to
Yeah.
develop these things, because if a player's experience is only 5 minutes long, then players aren't going to get invested enough into a world to actually care about it. Whereas if it's too long and players get killed and they're out of it, they're going to feel cheated.
And do we
Yeah, it's
spread
true.
like?
I mean,
Sorry. Do we spread like a save over multiple sessions, possibly, so they can come back, and then once they die, they pass it on or something?
that
like
sounds
because,
good.
You know, they might have to go to dinner, and then suddenly,
Yeah.
I can't finish this puzzle because
Yeah.
I'm gone.
But then the more saves you spread over, the more it becomes a case of when you die, you're like, oh, that was
Yeah.
the time.
Lost a
like,
lot.
The fact
yeah,
is-
still a bit cheated.
The fact is that if we build the game under this pretense, the players that start the world will not be able to finish that world.
Yeah.
Because the point of, unless we don't design it with that paradigm and players can do that under some mystical thing that we make it possible for one player to complete the entire world. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I don't think that should be the case because the point isn't finishing. The point is helping.
I know.
Yeah.
I agree. I very much agree. But I also know how upset people can get when they can't
See everything.
fulfill everything in one
But they can.
short instant gratification.
Well, the thing is,
Oh, I see.
if it really was an issue for people, they can just find someone else who got up to the same point
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
did.
That's that's.
So
They'll always finish.
they're complaining about nothing and they're being whiny.
Okay, yeah.
It's not the point of the game, people.
Yeah,
Well, here's criticism. Shut up!
What do you say to me?
I more mean that it's just like,
I agree.
you know, there are
Yeah.
ways that people can get around it if that's really an
A big
issue.
Yeah.
But
Or they
the
can
point
replay their own
is,
seed.
Like, that's not the point of the game.
Yeah, like
So
it wouldn't be worth
we're not
compromising
gonna-
the vision just for
Exactly.
the sake.
I
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
But that still doesn't answer the question of how hard the game is and
We'll have to
thing.
figure it
That's-
out.
So, but that
Yeah.
obviously is something we have to figure out. But it's also
Yeah.
something we really need to bear in mind.
Yeah.
Because depending on length of experience, depends on how quickly we want players to get invested into the
think-
world.
I mean, as much as we want to make a good game, it's to play test. Like, let's say there's only going to be 4 players in a world just to test out the idea, and to make them invested enough, they need to care. And let's say that requires 10 minutes of time. That's 40 minutes to see if the idea works. Whereas that's just to test if it works, and we need to make sure that it works before we think about how to make the game properly.
Also, a thing to understand is that we will have developed it, we will have made it, we will know everything about it, we'll know how to solve the puzzles, we will know how to test the game. We will be equipped with the skills to be able to do that. So I don't think it will be a case of like time constraint is an issue. But that's just my opinion.
I kind of want to make sure the idea works before making the idea good.
Sure.
I think.
That's why we prototype.
And I've got like we have friends who play games who
Yeah.
won't know what we're making, so we can test puzzles on them, of course.
Sure. I agree.
And friends who don't, which is also important.
It's also a thing.
It sounded like you were about to finish up.
No, I've just got some other things as well.
Okay.
So, for example, I don't know why I put this, but it might be an interesting thing of like, is there a survival aspect? So, how do players sustain their life? Like, do they need food, or will they die over time, or do they age? Like, what happens?
For the sake of like streamlining, I guess, reductive game design, you know, of chucking out things that aren't necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think to the core idea, I don't know if everyone else agrees, but like, I don't think we need to think about food and stuff and like prolonged survival aspects of I need to keep up my thirst.
But I was just wondering whether it might become something that is actually.
I also have been occasionally wondering whether that would that could be a thing, but usually I tend to think, when I think about survival in terms of just like maintaining your like self, like your body working through that way, I always think it doesn't quite reflect legacy. It reflects it's a desperation for yourself and other people, possibly, if you have the time to do that.
Yeah, maybe it'd take away from the experience.
I think it's a bit of a distraction, especially if you've got a limited amount of time. Like, let's say that you're only playing for like half an hour, maybe an hour most, and then you're dying or whatever. Then if you're spending a decent amount of that time running around looking for food, looking for stuff to keep alive, it's like,
Yeah, it takes away, I agree.
I guess, devil's advocate, there's always the chance of, like, other players can help you by providing you with resources.
I mean, that was the point of it. Like, maybe like the fires run out of wood and you need to go cut more because otherwise players can't find where you've gone. And
so
stuff
people
like that.
just chucked wood next to
and
like,
there's just like stuff there, and you're like, oh, some nice guy came along, and like that was kind of the more like if there was some more of a survival aspect. So,
I think that would work.
I think it's something that's secondary. And we should talk about later.
I think as long as it's not overdone. Like, if it is literally just a case of maybe one or two things and it doesn't take up a lot of time and energy and whatever, if it's just like another little thing, then I think it can work. But as long as it's not bogged down in all these survival things that you have to do, because otherwise I think you're trying so hard to survive when you are inevitably going to die pretty soon. It feels a bit...
I mean, I wouldn't say it feels
pointless.
A bit, because you're trying to survive to show something. I mean, also for surviving for yourself.
Yeah, but you're not trying to survive. You're trying to get further so that the next person has a new place to be. If you've survived for as long as you possibly can, but you've stayed in the same space, then you've given nothing, basically, to the next person.
Yeah. Oh, which obviously roots back to our NPC like possible narrative thing that we might get going.
So, because I think like if it is a thing where you can like leave things for other people, I think if it's just like tools or something, things like rather than literal survival elements, like things that might just be useful for solving a puzzle.
Or items,
stuff like that. That makes sense.
Okay. Well, I will adjust food to useful items.
Sure.
Okay. So another thing was. Doesn't need to be answered now, but how big can we feasibly make the world? Because obviously it's an important thing. Kind of relates back to environment stuff, but it's just a consideration of like obviously that would also define game time and stuff like that, and how much game there actually is, and how many puzzles we can fit in that. So that's something to consider. And obviously back to the original thing, which is how do we allow players to indirectly communicate? So. Obviously, I think that's the key thing.
Yeah.
Like, because that's obviously what the game's really about. And obviously, some of the stuff that you've come up with was looking at that. So maybe that's probably the most important thing we have to answer.
I suppose we've also sort of answered that with the whole idea of when they die.
Yeah.
They have a dying last few words.
Yeah.
And we were also saying about leaving the items behind. I guess. Then, are there many other ways you can?
Well, it's a spray idea as well.
And I had the idea.
Ideas too. That's true.
And in the original abstract, I had the idea that maybe like players like could drop some sort of thing, like their soul, their spirit, or something, and that deepens your connection with that individual player, and they almost act to help you in some way outside of that. I don't know how that would work, but maybe they appear to you or they whisper to you and when you're in danger and whatever.
Sounds super creepy.
Yeah.
Well, because if there is a thing of they get a little bit of distance from where they did die, then maybe like you take whatever from their body, and then when you get to the actual point at which they died, it starts like humming or something.
They let you know.
Yeah. Like the heart in Dishonored, when you're looking at items you can pick up.
Nearby.
Yeah, and it whispers to you and things like that.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool if it did that, or just dangers the players encountered or been close to beforehand. So it almost builds up like a non-visual map of things that they've encountered, or things that players that they've encountered. That like if a player dies but they've picked up somebody's soul, and then somebody picks up their soul, they also have a fragment of the previous person's soul as well. So maybe they have like that little bit of vibration over here because it's fainter because it was the previous person.
That could be interesting.
And then you've got like strength based on like lineage as well.
Well, because there's the deterioration thing as well, of like something becoming more important to your immediate successor than down the line when it starts becoming less relevant. But yeah,
that could be a cool thing.
That could even work. Obviously, we're not going with the survival aspect, but the survival aspect could also utilize that pretty well. Where over time, I guess it could be thought of with Don't Starve, where you can make better fires than others. But eventually, you might even be able to make strings, so you don't need a fire. Tie around the tree. There you go. It's permanent. No fire is necessary to direct you the way. You can even paint on the tree if you've managed to make paint. And with the arrows or something.
But yeah, no. So that was most of the talking points, I believe, if not all of them.
Was that all of them?
The last one was just a consideration of how many players on average pass through the world before it would be complete. But
that's all the ending, right?
That would have to be that would be one that was decided later on exactly, but.
Yeah, because that's like also deciding how long each player spends.
Exactly. A lot of these questions are just things that I thought would be important to think about if we were to go further with it, because obviously it's important to know the sort of idea of like how many players are going to pass through, how long they're going to take, how hard the game is, because then we get an idea for accessibility, market, how long we can hold people's attention spans for, how quickly we want to get people involved in like a narrative. I mean, everything that I just said, really.
You, at one point, you had shown all of us some artwork which you were interested in maybe having in our world, and you were interested in like the way, I guess, color was distributed and shown, and I'm trying to remember what I said. You showed me the artwork, and I thought, I don't know how to describe. I was hoping to just, I guess the artwork was like watercolor-ish. It had like bleeding off of like out of where the color was meant to be, like confined to, like a child's leg might like bleed away or something. And it was mostly cell shading, but with that. And actually, no, it wasn't that.
It was hand drawn.
Yeah. Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are
I
doing.
used because
So
that
there was. Yeah.
I think I might have it on my likes still, but it was just something I thought was cool and might be worth trying out. But I'll see if I can find it.
I'll let you see the image before I continue.
It's more the idea of like fiddling around with shaders to get a kind of painterly, I guess, visual style in 3D.
In 3D,
Yeah.
to build
I see.
this kind of like, this kind of, I don't know. I liked it and I thought it was cool, but because it could possibly be achievable, but with both of our skill sets combined, obviously your understanding of how 2D illustration works and our 3D stuff, but and then more shaders that you can say just shake a big stick out, I guess.
Big dumb stick.
Yeah, big dumb stick. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously, that's less related directly to our ideas or things that we're looking at the moment, but something to consider. So,
I was going to make it relatable.
okay, then go ahead. My bad.
I was just suggesting that something Dean was also interested in when I said it, was that because loneliness keeps you away from I should remember why I said
When was this?
you were just interested when I saw had mentioned the idea that because loneliness keeps you within because loneliness produces loneliness, which makes it so that you're stuck in your own ideas, which is not what's actually there, because you need to actually be within the world alongside other people to actually feel and to actually understand what's actually there. It means that you live in a world, stuck in a world through having been lonely at all, where it's not really real. So I thought it'd be interesting for the entirety of the time, I thought it'd be interesting that the artwork could have that sort of there'll be no hard lines, there'll be no nicely transitioning shadows or something, because the world isn't meant to be real. So I was thinking it could look more abstract in that it could maybe be done with pencil, or it could be done with lines that don't stay that line consistently. It could be watercolor, something that looks like someone's produced a world through something that looks like an interpretation of the world instead of a representation of the world, even though that's both the same thing. I mean, something that basically doesn't reminisce realism by being just the right amount of
it looks like an interpretation rather than...
Yeah, but it's a bit rougher. It's a bit more crude than this is the final outcome of this world, because the world isn't meant to be real. That's what we want, isn't it? This world isn't meant to be working this way. You are meant to have people, and so it could maybe work to have that sort of unfinished effect, if we are interested.
That goes down more to the philosophy of how we want it to be portrayed, which obviously is something we've not really discussed before now. Obviously the point was just we want ideas and things and experiences to pass on indirectly. So I guess it depends. I mean, I'm not adverse to the idea.
I wouldn't know how to do that. We'd have to, I guess, look it up and research a bit and then figure it out.
It could potentially be a lot more work than
or a breakthrough. That's the thing.
It might be that we spend a couple of weeks, semester 2, just experimenting with prototypes on visuals and with shaders and stuff like that.
Or even end of semester 1,
exactly.
Full design. You could try doing this, and then suddenly when you've tested it, you go, oh wait. But
exactly.
This is...
And then that can be tweaked and polished.
Because it's an aesthetic thing, I guess it would come down to the kind of, world we'd end up making, which would be down to whatever, one, idea we go with, and 2, however we go about seeing that idea through, and 3, what people want out of it, But it's cool and interesting.
Okie dokie. Well, that pretty much wraps up everything note-wise that I have of interest, at least it isn't repeating itself poorly.
Alright, well, by the way, I don't know what you guys are interested in, but I was super interested in the little communities off to the side, which could have references to previous people and that try to lure you in, but mostly I was interested in the main thing with that, which was the attempt to divert people's attention from each other's actual tasks, which would make it so that you're even more thinking about the other person, because you have an actual goal in mind for them and yourself. And if you spend too much time where you want to be spending, it's like not going to get you closer to the other thing. I guess it's basically the same thing I did as when I played a bit of Night in the Woods. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, where I just spent too much time on the side game, like the the computer game. What was it called? Demon
Yeah,
Tower?
Demon Tower.
Yeah, where it's like they'll be wasting their time by spending their time on side bits instead of main thing. And I sort of like the fact that they're reminded to about other people and their own things to stay on task. I don't know. It keeps it in mind. Is all I mean.
Yeah,
I like the reminder.
I think there's a really nice potential with that idea of building a narrative from it, and combining that with the idea of like false pretenses, in the sense of like the character is presumed to be this cliche of the perfect warrior or the perfect person to be the one to vanquish all evil, and actually not really the case, but
It's actually Greg from finance.
Exactly.
and I think
You never know, Greg from finance might
Might
be
not.
playing this game.
Oh, it's true. I thought you were going to say might not be in the finance department. That's also okay.
it might be in like HR,
Greg from the local supermarket. But you know,
the co-op. Anyway, but yeah, no, I think that's like developing a narrative from that is definitely possible. I think it would complement it a lot better than just it being just this kind of like nebulous, non-definitive story that you just waltz through.
yeah.
I feel like it's a nice balance of like getting a point across, because we can use loneliness as a really nice theme for individual characters, for individual purpose, for what they're doing and why they've done it, as well as a more subtle overtone, which is that whole like, oh, we've got this whole idea of like importance versus unimportance, and like the cliche of the characters, and like how that's actually being turned on its head, which is really nice. One of my favourite things, I've said a billion times. But so yeah, I think it could potentially be really strong,
Yeah.
and that's not even counting the rest of the game.
You look like you really want to say something.
I don't understand what I'm thinking.
That sounds like a t-shirt.
That's a bother.
Bother and stuff.
Anyway, I'm just I'm confused about I mean the idea that you like. I don't understand how it applies.
Which one?
About you not being quite as special as you're made out to be.
Oh well,
Feels like an attack.
it should be, because
I think because it's the idea of like the group whole being the driving force rather than you alone being the one to do it. Like it's about what you leave behind, what you fail at, even like
helping other people. It's about your contribution, regardless of whether you're intent or not.
Yeah, you're not like the chosen one. You're like the chosen one out of 52 because it's all of you together.
Because
who did it,
not one of you on your own can do it individually.
Exactly.
It takes all of you, and that's the point that the game does not fundamentally get in terms of narrative, because they believe that one person is the saviour, whereas that's not the case at all. The point is that it's the collective of indirect connections and help that build up the fundamental.
I agree. That sounds like a good idea. Did you just say that I guess the people who try to lure you in to say that you're the chosen one, did you make that sound? Are you saying that that's a bit like the Hunger Games, where you force a deity-like thing to revolve around you?
No idea.
Where did Hunger Games come in?
No,
I'm pretty sure there's no deities in the Hunger Games, but
no, but whether you try to make someone out to be something that they're clearly not for,
That they're not.
Are you suggesting? What do they get out of keeping you with them? I
Keeping
guess
you
it's because
fixed on
they
the goal.
realize.
Yeah,
I guess
Because if they can get you fixed on the goal enough,
they don't have
that
to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're all people who have given up on the task of saving the world from damnation, so they're making you go do it instead. And the way that they get you to is by going, "You're the chosen one. You have to do it."
Oh my god, you're so good at what you do.
It plays on the hero's journey of what everybody wants to hear, that they're really important, that they're crucial to the story,
I disagree.
and that they'll succeed.
You disagree with what? That everyone wants to feel important? Okay, most people want to feel important.
No, I mean that. Hold on, let me just make sure this is still recording. It is.
Thank
I
Christ.
must record
gonna
this.
say
The
this
line's
point.
going, so it's fine.
Not
Yeah.
repeating all day.
Bloody hell. That's it, in the bin.
Podcast tomorrow, guys.
Because it feels to have realized you are the. It feels like these people that have given up have realized the exact same thing, and because they realize in numbers and staying together, it sounds like they're just recruiting you for the exact same objective that you have.
No, because their objective is to not have to do anything. It's remotely dangerous, because the purpose of the story is that it's not possible for one person to do
yeah.
it.
I'll keep that in mind.
Because if they're framed as making the wrong decision, like for choosing not to contribute to the greater whole, like then because if you figure out, oh wait, like they're just cowards, and then you can think about it like that, then it's like togetherness.
Yeah, because the concept of this is whether you fail or succeed, you're contributing. So these people have chosen to not contribute at all by taking themselves completely out of the scenario.
I don't disagree that should be an idea, but I don't believe it to be the main, like, I don't like the black and white of who's good and who's bad.
That's not how
I mean,
it
they're
is.
not
That's
good or
just-
bad. That's the thing.
Nobody's
They're
good or
actually
bad.
just people who have struggled to deal with the fact that they have this task. to
Sure.
do.
And
I'd like to
they'll
come
probably
up
go
with
and do
several stances, though, than just this one. This one seems a bit
Oh
petty.
yeah, I mean, this is just a very basic, bare bones. This is probably how people could feel in this world, given the circumstances. Nothing's set in stone. By having a discussion like this is just an understanding of how people might feel.
Because it could not be even everyone you come across is like, oh, you're the chosen one.
People could be different. That's how we build narrative. That's how we build intertwining stories.
People could be completely separate from the whole business, in general, and they're they haven't run away from it. They're just not in there,
or they're not. They don't know what to do next or where to go. So.
Maybe you could recruit those people. It sounds really sad if you stumble upon someone that's super lost and you want to have them
Feasibility.
Yeah.
I mean, they might be able to give you an item or something. I think that's about as far as we're going to go with recruiting them.
I think if we had another year, then
Another 3
that would
years,
be
maybe?
It just
great.
sounds really sad that you have this thing where you're like, yeah, well, it's all about us, and then it's like you're lost, see ya.
I feel
I'm
like
gonna do my own thing.
I need to say now about the feasibility thing now that it's been brought up.
Yep.
This sounds like a big thing, and so we may want to consider, I guess, how much of this we actually want to make. Because, let's face it, we're not going to be able to make a massive experience that is, I suppose, the full length for multiple players to go all the way through.
I think
As long as we keep that in mind.
if we
I
design
guess.
it well, knuckle down hard, we can make something that's really good and fulfills lots of players.
Because I think also it's a case of if this is an interesting experience inherently for being different to other things, we don't have to worry too much about making a big grand thing in that it will be an interesting small thing, I guess.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
people.
I mean, this can be big and small if it attracts an audience and people enjoy the playing. If it's, people aren't going to be massively upset if it's the difference between a half an hour game and an hour game. That's something that we can decide based on scope. I mean, scope is obviously really important. We need to make sure we build something that is of the right scope for us.
There is a market. I hate that. Damn. Thinking about money and stuff, but there are people who play absolutely these small narrative experiences, especially because there are a lot of indie games which come out around Halloween, which are horror games, and they're very short little things that come out, and people play them and are interested in them and share them and stuff. They don't charge much for them, but they're small little things. A lot of them even free, but it's if it's interesting, it's interesting.
I think it's achievable. But as I say, good design is the key.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
we've come from working on stuff like Star Beast, which we put together in 2 weeks, and somehow it managed to just work by the end of it.
You say 2 weeks. I mean, don't forget the course of making everything lasted. I mean, we basically started just Was it around Christmas? Just after Christmas?
Yeah.
Was that when?
I think it
No,
was
semester 2.
January.
Because it would have been semester
or
2,
February.
so yeah, like January, let's say.
Yeah, and then we had to redesign.
So when you
stuff.
actually consider, by the time we've got a proper idea of what we want to do,
Mm-hmm.
it might be around that time anyway. So I guess when you consider that and then the scope of what we managed to accomplish from January to
Mm-hmm.
June or July or whenever it was.
It was
As long as we
31st
can
of May.
keep-
Yeah.
There you go.
Bam.
Nice. As long as we keep that in mind,
Yep.
I think we'll be fine. I don't want to be like, yeah, we can get all this stuff in and let's
Yeah.
try and do it all, and then just find that at the end we're just completely overwhelmed and we've actually only got a really small section sorted,
Yeah.
and that doesn't contain all the stuff that we necessarily wanted it to.
Yeah.
What we would need to do is we need to design an MVP.
Yeah, exactly.
And then core experience that gets across what we want,
Yeah.
what we like, what we feel we can polish in time. We can get that done as quickly as we can. We spend as much time as we possibly can in the early stages of that, seeing how far we can get with it, and then we add on if we have time.
Because
Anything.
I guess a big thing is like we're not making a prototype here; we're making a full thing. Aren't
full
we?
Yeah,
game.
exactly.
And
it's
that's
like-
going to be big regardless.
Yeah, so it's just
Yeah.
being reductionist and going. We only need for the core experience. We need this bit, and we need this bit, and we need
Yeah.
all of these, and it needs to be this like long and this big, and that's it. And yeah, I think as long as you get that.
And obviously this year, it's third year, we're expected to work harder than we did last year.
Yeah, I know.
And we're better than we were last year. We've learned more, and I mean, it's not going to be easy.
I want to just point out that
He's got a smile on his face.
I didn't mean to smile. I didn't know what I did. It made what I was going to sound worse. I'm going to change the wording. People don't tend to have as much care for strangers than the people they actually do know.
Yeah.
They don't even think about the people they don't know usually, and that should maybe be taken into account, because I feel like, let's say the world has like 30 iterations, and if we're considering the people die version, then that would mean that what if you don't have 30 people you want to send that code to say, hey, carry on this for me? I feel like it should have a place. It just gets some server just gets put on,
Yeah.
just so
That's what it is.
Okay.
Well, that was so that because people need to be able to jump into later bits as well if they want to see, so they can jump into one that might be later on and continue with that. So they're not just buying like a one-time ticket.
That's why you get the two experiences which I outline, which is the first experience, which is the opening of the world. You start out, you learn the basics, the game works.
Yeah.
Then you can play either again if you want to learn more or stuff, or you play as a successor, which is you inherit somebody else's world and
I
somebody else's
assume
experience.
you succeed in order, like if you were the first player and you were meant to be the second player, you can't join like the 17th iteration and see like a ridiculous amount of stuff you weren't supposed to have understood or have seen.
Yeah.
Like at that point,
That's
you go to
something that
part
is
2
gonna
of
have
the
to be.
world. But I don't know how you.
Because of scope, I guess. Like we wouldn't have that much that
Yeah.
people would have missed beforehand, so we wouldn't have
Okay.
to worry too much about how much people are gonna, I guess, unintentionally see. Because we could do a thing where we prioritise people joining ones that are less, moved along, if they haven't reached that point or something.
I know. I just feel it would be weird if people started the game in their first play and then ended the game on their second
Yeah.
because they joined the last variation.
Yeah. But again, it will just be a case of trying to prioritise limiting what they can see. But yeah.
I mean, I say it feels weird. What I mean by it feels weird is it's not working towards anyone anymore. You didn't progress for anyone, and you didn't progress even for yourself. You just like, all right, I'm done helping. Now I'm going to finish. That was an ineffective. I don't know what I played, because the point is to feel that. I mean, the effort you put in for another person. So it'd be weird to just complete it. Is what I mean. Yeah, no, that's all.
There's something to bear in mind, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I suggest we call it there for now and have a think about everything.
Sure. Should we say what? Save what's it? Experiences for next week?
What?
Possibly?
Wednesday.
Yeah. Do you want that, or would you want to?
What would everybody prefer?
Which week are we doing the topic of sharing experiences?
That'll be the third one.
That'll be week 3.
So you can always save it for then.
It's true.
So you bottle it up.
Yeah. So
Well-
we can do all the sharing of experiences of loneliness
put
whilst we design a sharing of experiences of loneliness
Wow.
game.
It'll be crazy.
So anyway, are we still interested in at some point when we do talk about loneliness, since we're making it personal next week for our own experiences? Should we also do the playing one game by ourselves without anyone knowing, and then also sharing the exact same game experience by ourselves, and then not telling each other?
Yeah, I guess that'll have to be done before the third week, right?
Yeah, so I guess what we can
Yeah.
do is we can outline the rules and stuff on Discord about how we're going to work
Or
it.
we could outline it in the podcast and then do it
Yeah,
between,
that works.
just before the.
So if we do that on Wednesday,
Oh,
that
okay.
works. Because I mean, like, this subject's kind of coming to a definitive close now. Obviously, we haven't got a uniform idea as such yet, because it's still just throwing ideas a bit.
Because we seem to hone around that one for like a good amount of, I guess, like subtopics and stuff. So I guess
I mean, I'm happy to write up like a design proposal of things that are like, hey, these are things that we've been thinking about including, and then like where we've got non-definitive answers, so like time of game or enemies or traps or puzzles and stuff like that, we can say like to be decided later.
Yeah.
We can do that with all 3, and then at the end of it we say we really like this one, we're going to take this one further. Okay, does that one work?
Sure.
Okie dokie. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Yeah, we'll leave experiences to another time.